I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome to the Select Board meeting, Town of Burlington, on today, May 24th. Start off with some positivity. We like that. Laurie, are you with us regarding item number 128, information regarding Helpus and May is Kindness Month?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask
I'm sorry, yes.
Selectman Priest to read the meeting information, please?
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
already, all right, Nick, go ahead.
In the hopes that this may be the last time that I read this, here we go. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This public hearing of the Town of Burlington Board of Selectmen is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but the public can listen and/or view this meeting while in progress as broadcast on BCAT Government Cable Access Television, BCAT Government Covers Facebook Live page, or by using the link provided in the address for our WebEx Cisco online meeting, or via phone at 408-418-9388, meeting number 173-687-6564. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by commenting on the BCAT Government Coverage Facebook Live page, the chat function on the WebEx virtual meeting, or via telephone at 781-270-1635. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Priest. I apologize, Mr. Sagarino. I asked him if he was ready and I just forgot about it. Laurie Glantz, are you there for us? Saw you in the meeting, Laurie. Are you there? Joyce, are you gonna take this one or is Laurie gonna take this one?
Laurie? Can hear you. We can hear.
Yeah, I can't hear her either. Well, Joyce, why don't you start us off?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Ah, wonderful,
Why
wonderful.
don't you start us off, and if Laurie gets the audio fixed, we'll continue.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with all of you and in this beautiful room. I am Joyce Deligianis. I am the founder and president of Helpus, an organization with its based in our town of Burlington. Today, I'm here with my friends and colleagues, treasurer of our organization, Kate, and director, Laurie. Before Kate and Laurie explain the reason for having this meeting with you, I would like to take a minute to introduce our organization. Our organization bears the name Helpus. In Greek, it means hope. Our mission is to help somebody who cries for help. We connect people in need with people who wish to help. To accomplish our mission, we offer ourselves without asking for anything in return. Our message is simple. Every day we help somebody, we give hope, and kindness is the fuel that keeps hope alive. Our organization was born in Burlington in 2011. Over the past 10 years, our message has found a special place in people's hearts, and our work has gained praise and national recognition by numerous entries, including the town of Burlington. Our vision of promoting the power of kindness among people was recognized on April 28, 2016, when Governor Charlie Baker signed a House bill officially declaring the month of May Month of Kindness in the state of Massachusetts. Our wonderful journey started with a spark of kindness, and now it has grown to a fire of giving that keeps on spreading. All of this started and unfolded in our beloved town. Kate is now going to explain why we're here today, and afterwards, Laurie.
Thank you, Joyce. Laurie, are you yeah.
Kate.
All right, so I can step in for Laurie until she figures things out with the voice. My name is Kate Moon. I want to thank all of you for taking a few minutes to hear us tonight.
Go ask Lisa if she has some. Look.
Are you guys seeing your pizza?
We got a couple
Yes,
people
I'm
talking
hearing
here.
cartoons. Who's
If you're
playing?
not talking, can you please mute?
Simka, you must be joking.
Can you guys hear me now?
It's nothing but
Oh,
a plastic
all right.
card.
Can everybody please mute except for Laurie?
It's called the key card.
Thank you.
I
Laurie,
promise that I don't have cartoons running. Can anyone hear cartoons?
yes,
Code, you can't
welcome
open
to the
lock.
select board meeting.
But if the lock uses a key card,
Well, Laurie, we can hear him too, so if you're not talking, please mute. Or Betty, can you mute everybody, then unmute Laurie?
speak.
Okay, I've muted everybody, so Laurie, you're the only one I want to unmute next, okay?
I just unmuted.
Can read the code for
But I
Excellent,
can,
we hear you.
key cards don't work with any lock.
does it, I still hear the cartoons. I don't know if it's me.
Yes, Laurie, unfortunately, there's something in your computer system that's
My
creating this.
child, I'm gonna just, hold on one second. Bear with me one minute. Oh, my goodness.
All right, why don't we just keep this meeting going?
Yes, why don't we move on to the police detail for now, for the high school
Yeah, I
graduation?
just want to quickly say,
So I can jump in for
all right,
Lori.
Kate, why don't you
Actually,
jump in real quickly
Okay.
so we can wrap this
I promise
agenda
I
up?
have no cartoons on. So the reason that we asked you to speak tonight is we wanted to share a little bit. Joyce Delianis is really the force behind Help Is. She's at this point touched the lives of thousands of people with this organization. It's an all volunteer network of people who are committed to being kind to others. That's really the idea at the heart of it. And I'd like to share a little bit of what Help Is has done in the community of Burlington over the last year. So in the last year alone, Help Is has donated over 7,000 pieces of personal protective equipment during the pandemic. Those were donated to frontline workers, local families, as well as shelters. And during that time, Help Is has also fulfilled emergency requests for over 2,400 people. Now that can be anything from food to a bed to clothing, basically all kinds of requests. Our way to reach out to the community and connect people who are willing to help with people who need help. Being able to effectively perform acts of kindness has an immediate positive impact on the person being helped, but we also want to talk about the positive effect that it has on the people that are doing the helping. As a social worker in the foster care system, I cannot overstate the importance of children and families receiving quick, concrete help. Maybe most important of all, Help Is also restores hope to these families. Children in particular benefit from learning kindness, for the ability to put oneself in someone else's shoes and reach out is the heart of empathy. In 2009, Joyce Delianis and the team at Help Is began advocating for a state law recognizing the importance of kindness. She involved many local children in that effort, as some of you probably remember from our elementary schools, as well as other area youth, many of whom faced a lot of challenges, such as mental health issues and disabilities. In 2016, with the support of many in this community, the state law designated May as the official month of kindness in Massachusetts was passed. It was an exceptionally empowering experience for the children who participated, and we are here tonight to invite the town of Burlington to honor this unique history as the birthplace of kindness. Lori, was she able to get back on?
Are you there? All right, Kate, it doesn't sound like it. So what I'm going to do is, if you want to wrap up real quick, we can bring back Help Us, you, Laurie, and Joyce at a future meeting where we have more time that we can talk about, more about help us when we can dedicate more time to this issue, this item.
Absolutely. So I guess I will come right out with the ideas that we had for doing this. And at the heart of that is really finding a space in Burlington that honors the law of kindness and acknowledges the history that began right here. And we were wondering if it is possible to designate one or more of the walkways in the Burlington Common to be the avenue of kindness.
So what I'm
And
going to say,
obviously, this is very initial, so
all right. Well, what I'm Joyce, go ahead. You have to unmute though. Joyce, we're not hearing you.
We would like with your help to put Burlington on the map as Burlington kind, like Boston strong, Burlington kind. We can do it, and that will be an incredible achievement for the town of Burlington. All the kind people. Burlington kind, it's amazing because it has been. Thank you so much.
Okay, here's what we can do. Joyce, I'll talk to you. We'll meet up. We'll set up a future date when we can discuss everything that you want to do, everything that we want to do, and we'll have you work with the staff to get you on a future meeting, and that way there we can discuss all this and get that ball rolling. Tonight, I know it said it was going to be an intro, but we'll work on that, making it a bigger agenda item down the road. And not far down the road, but sooner than later. How's that sound?
Thank you very much.
All right, I'll reach out to you, Joyce.
Thanks a lot.
Kate, thank you. Laurie,
Thank you.
if you're there, thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I have no idea what happened, but I guess Joyce and Kate hit it out of the park, so
Well, I'll meet with you guys and we'll discuss something down the road. How's that sound?
perfect. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Laurie, just tell Noel to shut the TV off next time.
Listen, Joe, I'm at my office. I have no idea what just happened, but gremlins got into my computer.
Okay, well, next time we meet, it won't be remote. How's that sound?
I
Sounds
hope it's in person.
That's the plan. We'll bring you back in person. All right, next
Beautiful.
item is approval for the annual coverage for police details at the high school. This is this is a little different. We've done this every year. We typically cover the select board covers the cost of the all-night graduation party. Obviously, we're in a different world than that. So what I'm looking for is approval. I'm looking at the select board approve the annual cost for 2 police officers for a total of 4 hours each for the after graduation party or events at the high school for the high school graduates at Burlington High. Mr. Hogan.
Mr. Chairman, I will make that motion that we do pick up the cost for the police detail for the high school graduation party. Having participated in the distant past, it's a great event, and I would hate to have these students be yet again without this opportunity. So I would make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Do I have a second to that?
I'll second it.
Mr. Morandi, members of the board, if you have a comment or question, raise your hand. If not, we'll. All right. So there's been a motion made and seconded. Roll call for approval on this. Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
Priest,
Yes.
Mr. Morandi,
Yes.
Mr. Runyon, and the chair.
Yes.
And the chair is 5 yes, 5-0 on that approval, Betty. Item number 129, appointments, Mr. Sagarino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have Chief Kent and Deputy Chief Brown here for some appointments within the police department.
Chief Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Chief Brown, who will handle the 4 new full-time police officers.
Deputy.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Sagarino. Just by way of background for the board, we had announced our entrance level exam back on January 22nd and gave a deadline to apply through April 7th, 2021. This year for this exam, we had 159 applicants, and we ended up transferring, switching around how we did things. Normally, we would give the written exam first, but because of the uncertainty around COVID, we did the PAT first. We ran that up at the Haverhill Police Academy. We had 155 candidates participate and 97 either failed or failed to show, which left us 58 to come to the written exam and 10 failed the written exam. So out of those 48, we ended up bringing 28 to the interview panel. And then we selected out of that interview panel 10 to go through a new process that we just incorporated into our hiring process this year, which we brought them into the police station, and each candidate underwent 3 scenarios in our simulator. The purpose of that simulator was to gauge the candidate's ability to speak with people of various levels of maturity and intelligence. It was not a test of any prior police experience. They did not need to know the law. They didn't have to have any police tactic training at all. The scenarios they encompassed a situation with an autistic child, a young child shoplifting, and then finally a domestic between 2 brothers, where we stopped the assessment and asked them what, if any, force they would use in the situation, just to gauge a measure of common sense for each of the candidates. Of those 10, we sent 7 on to the final interview, which happened with the town administrator, the assistant town administrator, Chief Kent, and myself. And the following 4 that I'm going to present tonight were unanimously selected for recommendation for appointment. They're being presented in no specific order, as their ultimate seniority will depend on their final standing upon graduation from the academy, which is set to begin on January 7th. The first candidate for recommendation is a Daniel P. Murphy. Daniel grew up in Burlington. He's the son of John and Susan Murphy. He's a 2010 graduate of Burlington High School. He then went on to UMass Amherst and received a bachelor's degree in 2013 in history with a minor in education. He is currently in the process of advancing his education at Cambridge College, where he is pursuing his master's degree. Very recently, he developed a strong interest in law enforcement and decided now was the time to pursue this career. Currently, and since 2014, Dan is working for the Minuteman Tech High School in Lexington. He serves as a mentor for students inside and outside the classroom, where he is charged with implementing safety and security measures for the school. And he also serves in a leadership role with the students and coaches football and girls basketball. He has also worked for the Burlington High School Athletics Department as an assistant football coach from 2017 through 2019. Based upon this, Mr. Sagarino, I would recommend Daniel P. Murphy for appointment as a police officer with the Burlington Police Department.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. And with Tom's recommendation, I appoint Daniel P. Murphy to the position of patrolman in the Burlington Police Department and ask that the board waive its 15-day waiting period.
I make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Do I have a second?
Second.
And Morandi. Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Priest,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Runyon,
Yes.
Morandi,
Yes.
and the chair is a yes. 5-0-0 on that, Betty. Deputy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next candidate up for recommendation is a Joseph Belsito, who is a resident of Beverly, Massachusetts, having recently moved from Essex. He is the son of Brian and Karen Belsito. He is a 2012 graduate of Sacred Heart High School in Kingston, Massachusetts, and then he went on to pursue his bachelor's degree in operations and information management with a minor in economics at UMass Amherst. He is currently employed as a contracted consultant for U.S. Electrical Services in Stoughton, where he is involved in testing and researching software and performing work related to warehouse layout and design. He is also currently serving as the head sailing coach for Bentley University in Waltham and has been in this position since April of 2018. Mr. Belsito has also currently enrolled in the Massachusetts Law Enforcement Training Alliance since February 2021, pursuing his part-time officer certification. Based upon that, I would like to recommend Mr. Joseph Belsito for a position as police officer in the Burlington Police Department.
Thank you, Tom. With Deputy Chief Brown's recommendation, I appoint Joseph A. Belsito to the position of patrolman in the Burlington Police Department and ask that the board waive its 15-day waiting period.
And I will make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Hogan to waive the waiting period and seconded by Mr. Morandi. Roll call vote. Mr. Priest,
Yes.
Hogan,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Morandi,
Yes.
And the chair is a yes, 500, Betty. Deputy,
Thank you, sir. The next candidate for recommendation is a Colton Bader. Mr. Bader resides in Chestnut Hill, but he grew up in Sharon, Massachusetts. He is the son of Dr. David Bader and Mrs. Cindy Bader, currently of Framingham. He's a 2014 graduate of Sharon High School and then went on to complete his bachelor's degree in criminal justice and psychology at UNH in Durham, New Hampshire, after completing 1 year at Syracuse University. He then received his master's degree in criminal justice, focusing on cybercrime and security from Boston University in 2020. Mr. Bader is currently employed at Northeast Security in Boston as a site supervisor and has been since 2018. He also has some law enforcement internship experience to his credit, having served with the Boston University Police Department and Braintree Police Department. Based on that, I would like to recommend Mr. Colton Bader for appointment as a police officer with the Burlington Police Department.
Thank you. And with Deputy Chief Brown's recommendation, I appoint Colton C. Bader to the position of patrolman in the Burlington Police Department and ask that the board waive its 15-day waiting period.
And I will make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
thank you, Mr. Hogan.
Second.
Second by Mr. Morandi. All right, gentlemen, a roll call vote is needed to waive. Mr. Priest,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Morandi,
Yes.
and the chair is a yes, 500, Betty. Deputy,
Thank you. Last but certainly not least is a Mr. Richard Riley, who currently resides in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. He is the son of Richard Riley and Leanne Riley. He graduated from St. John's Prep in 2014 and then went on to obtain his bachelor's degree in sociology from Miami University in Ohio in 2020. Mr. Riley is currently employed as a laborer for Renaud Industries in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. He has been employed with Renaud since 2019. Prior to that, he worked for Global Security Solutions out of New York City, where he was responsible for transporting sensitive materials from the Canadian border into the United States. And he also worked loss prevention duties for some clients of that company. He has also served as a volunteer many times, working for different political campaigns and delivering meals for the Pine Street Inn around the Thanksgiving holiday. Now, based upon this, I would recommend Mr. Richard Riley for appointment to the position of police officer with the Burlington Police Department.
Thank you, Tom. With Deputy Chief Brown's recommendation, I appoint Richard M. Riley Jr. To the position of patrolman in the Burlington Police Department and ask that the board waive its 15-day waiting period.
And I so make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
thank you, Mr. Hogan.
Second.
Second by Mr. Morandi. All right, gentlemen, a roll call vote is needed to waive. Mr. Priest,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Morandi,
Yes.
and the chair is a yes, 500 on that last appointment to waive. Gentlemen, I'm gonna ask if anybody has any comments, wants to chime in. Mr. Priest?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll keep this brief. I think that it's great that we have, these four candidates. I think that the process, the vetting process, is a thorough one. I love this addition of simulated situations. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And while it's absolutely great that we we do a great job of it seems communally people come back and fill these positions. It's also great to see people from outside of our community looking at Burlington as a place that they want to come and work and in this case protect our community. So I wish these four young gentlemen well and look forward to their career moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Priest. Mr. Hogan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, it's very exciting when you see the numbers of people, Deputy Chief, that want to come here and try to get on the department and realize how difficult it is and how special it is to then be part of this department. So congratulations to Chief Kent and you, Deputy, for the work that you guys do with the department to make it so. And yeah, the simulator's turning out to be quite a nice addition to the training and selection process. So that's very exciting also. So congratulations to the four of them and welcome to town.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Mr. Runyon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly, congratulations to the four candidates, and I'm anxious to meet these four, as well as the other appointments we've made over the last 12 or 14 months in person very soon, I hope.
Thank you, Mr. Runyon. Mr. Morandi,
Yeah, just very quickly, nice job by the police department to pick these four out of 153, I believe you said. Narrowed it down to the four top candidates, which was testament to our chief and our deputy chief and the board altogether. But I will say this, Mr. Murphy owes me 20 push-ups. This is the fourth time I got to have an ex-football player of mine become a Burlington police officer. So I've done it to the other ones, and this one here, Mr. Murphy has to give me 20 push-ups.
thank you, Mr. Morandi. Real quick, I'll chime in. I want to welcome all four to, and Joe, now you owe us 20 push-ups. So I want to welcome all four to the town and the department. You may not be aware, I retired from the police department last year after 32 years. And gentlemen, I just want to say you're going to work for one of the most diverse, well-trained, and well-respected police departments, if not just this area, in this state, this whole region. And that's due a lot to the leadership of Chief Kent and Deputy Chief Brown. And, you know, unfortunately, we couldn't do the typical pomp and circumstance that we'd like to do when we do appointments. But as Selectman Runyon alluded to, at some point, we do want to do something to acknowledge and welcome everybody, which I'm 100% in favor of. I just want to have one quick question. Deputy, what academy are they going to?
They will be going to the Haverhill Academy starting June 7th.
Okay, gentlemen, I will see you in June as I will be teaching up there. So, along with the deputy. Mr. Sagarino, any final thoughts?
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman. We do have another appointment in the police department as well.
Okay, Chief Kent, anything on the four new hires?
Thank you. Well, we have another retirement coming up in the Burlington PD and another valued member. Detective Anne Marie Brown will be retiring June 1st. Just to give you a little recap of her career, she graduated from the Mass Criminal Justice Training Academy in April of 1989. And she went to work for the Reading Police Department in May of '89. And if you recall, those were tight budget times, and she was laid off in November of '89. So Reading's loss was certainly Burlington's gain. She was appointed the full-time police officer in Burlington in March of '90. And in June of 2005, she was appointed the first domestic violence officer for the department. And added to that title in September of 2015 was detective, even though since 2005 she had been doing all the work of the detective. She just didn't have the title. Detective Brown is going to be a huge loss for the department. She has a huge caseload, domestic violence incidents, elderly incidents, and she is considered a go-to person in Middlesex County, extremely well thought of by the district attorney's office, her fellow police officers within the Burlington PD, and the surrounding communities. She has a wealth of knowledge, and I just had a chat with her this afternoon, and she promised me she'd only be a phone call away for any issues that arise as her replacement is navigating that new position. With that being said, I would request that Detective Anne Marie Brown be appointed a special police officer effective June 2nd, the day after her retirement. Mr. Sagarino.
Thank you, Chief. And with your recommendation, I appoint Anne Marie Brown to the position of Special Police Officer in the Burlington Police Department and ask the board waive its 15-day waiting period.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Joe, I believe you seconded it. You're muted though. Is that correct? Okay. Second by Mr. Morandi. Roll call vote to appoint Anne Marie Brown as a special police officer effective June 2nd. Selectman Priest,
Yes.
Selectman Hogan,
Yes.
Selectman Runyon,
Yes.
Selectman Morandi. Bill, you muted still, but I got that.
Yes.
Okay, and the chair is a yes, 500, Mr. Sagarino and Betty. I know we're a little behind, but gentlemen, any words for Anne Marie? I'll start with Nick. You want to start?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, a great career and, a great member of the community. I know that she does quite a bit in our community and I know there are a lot of residents thankful for her, over the years. So enjoy your retirement. I know you said you'd be a phone call away, but, please try to enjoy it. All right. But thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Priest. Mr. Hogan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My grandson Riley has a picture with both the chairman and Detective Brown doing the work they do in identifying the children, taking the pictures and getting all the gifts for them. And he's very proud to have been in that picture with both of them. And that sits prominently in his house with his mother. So that's a special remembrance for us.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Mr. Runyon.
Good, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did have the good fortune of starting my career at about the same time as Anne Marie, so I got to know her quite well. And of course, she went on to marry a coworker of mine. But it's just remarkable that those 30 plus years passed by just so darn quickly. It's amazing, as you know, Jim, and some of you other folks who have retired out there. But I just want to wish Anne Marie and Tim and their family the very best in retirement. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Runyon. Mr. Morandi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to wish them all the best in their retirement. Never really got to know her that well. Saw her around town quite a bit. Always friendly, always nice. Just part of that Brown family. I think it rubs off on everybody. They're just a great family, and congratulations on your retirement. Best of luck.
Thank you, Mr. Morandi. I could be here for hours if I started to talk about Annie. Her and I worked so many cases together, but that's not it. I mean, Anne Marie is an icon when it comes to working domestic violence cases, sexual assault cases, elder fraud, elder abuse cases. As I think it was the chief mentioned, she is well known, extremely well known throughout Middlesex County, and has helped many other departments in situations where they didn't have someone like Annie. So again, a huge loss for the department, but we had Annie for 30 years, and she's completely, she's had a wonderful career, and I can't thank her enough as a friend, as a coworker, and now as a selectman for all that she's done for this town. And I will stop there. I believe that's it. Mr. Sagarino, I'll move on to the next item unless there's anything else from the deputy or the chief.
No, thank you very much as always.
All set. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, item number 130. It's an update. It's an issue that's affecting many, many towns around us, but Mr. Sanchez, are you with us? There you
Yes,
are.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, it's all yours, John.
Okay, so thank you. So thanks for the time right now. So as you may be aware from just seeing a lot of news reports, whether it's newspaper, TV, etc., there's been a lot of it lately about PFAS. And just quickly, PFAS are human-made chemicals, and they were typically associated with any non-stick coatings like Teflon, any waterproofing, stain-proofing, and also with certain firefighting foams. So right until recently, there has not been a real rule of how much of these chemicals are allowed to be in our water. In fact, the EPA does not have any type of guidelines other than an advisory level, which they have set at 70 parts per trillion. So since there was no MCL for Massachusetts, DEP decided to create their own. What they did is they took the sum of 6 of these PFAS chemicals And if you have it in your water, you let up all of them together. And if they go over 20, then they will consider that to be not good for sensitive groups. And by sensitive groups, they talk about pregnant women, nursing women, infants, and also people that may have compromised immune systems. Now, why am I saying all of this? Because when we tested, which we just completed a testing last week, our level was 40 parts per trillion. And this is a both treatment plants. So this is not just the Vine Brook or the Mill Pond, it's actually the two of them. So what happens right now, for levels that are over 20, DEP advised that people in those sensitive groups do not consume, drink, or cook with that water of what they call the PFAS 6. Like I said, it's 6 chemicals a day added. Now, for the rest of us, all the children, adults, etc., this level is applicable to a lifetime of consuming water. So this is not a big emergency just happens in one day. And that's important because since we put it out on a press release last week, I've been asked several times, how come we didn't do a reverse 911? Well, we didn't do a reverse 911 because this is not one of those cases in which you have to stop drinking the water immediately, per se. This is not a bacteria. This is not something like that. It requires literally a lifetime of exposure to create a risk. So again, DEP based that analysis on a lifetime of consumption, and it came up with the 20 parts per trillion. So what is Burlington going to do based on this? Well, first of all, the most important thing is like right now, the town of Burlington is not in violation. Although more than likely we will be in violation of this rule by the end of the quarter, which will be in at the end of June of this year. Prior to 2021, there was no rule in Massachusetts. Again, Massachusetts implemented that rule starting in 2021, and for systems like Burlington, starting in the second quarter, which is what we are right now. So we've been moving very fast to find solutions, short term or long term. And that's what I wanted to talk about today and maybe open it up for some discussion and questions that you may have. In the short term, one thing that we did immediately with the approval of the EEP is we opened up the connection with Lexington, which it will minimize the use of local sources. Why did we open that up? Is because the MWR water does not have any PFAS. This water comes from the Quabbin Reservoir, and they tested for the 6 chemicals, and they determined they are non-detect. So that's a good way to, if you want to call it dilute or separate or whichever you want to call it, the amount of water that we use by supplementing it with MWR water. On the short term, we also will provide more public education. Right now, we did a press release. But we're going to go and actually send letters to all of our residents and water users on what this means and what actions they can take if they wish to. And then we also need to provide an interim solution to the sensitive groups, which we're going to be working on that over the next month and a half to come up with a solution for them. And the reason we need to have a short-term solution is because there is no way for us to put a magic filter that will get rid of PFAS. That involves something much larger, which is what I call the long-term solution. So in the long term, we have 2 phases. One of them is we're going to complete the pipe that goes to the MWRA, what you already know is called the phase 2A. And that will allow us to have that extra capacity from the authority, hopefully by the end of 2022, as we have been saying for the last couple of years. We will abandon the Vine Brook treatment plant as a water source. And then we need to design a treatment plan for the Mill Pond facility, which will probably involve extra filters and an extra building that we'll need to build. We will start the design through the summer. Our plan is to be at town meeting probably in September to ask for funding for construction and hopefully have that completed during the next construction season. This is not an easy job to build filters, but that's very quick when you think about the fact that 2 weeks ago we didn't know anything about PFAS, and now we're talking about having a facility completed hopefully by the end of next year. Another question I've been asked is how come we're going so slow with the connection to the MWRA? It is good to point out a couple of things with that connection. One, we finally got the permit from all the regulators. I'm talking about DEP, DCR, Water Resources Commission. I can go on and on, everybody we have to deal with. We finally got the final approval in November of 2020. By December of 2020, we had completed phase one, which allow us now to actually have 1 million gallons of water coming in through that pipe. I will say this pretty quick. If you recall town meeting in January of this year, I went to town meeting and requested funds for construction of the next phase because we wanted to accelerate it. So in fact, tonight, the town administrator and I are going to be going to another meeting to talk about the construction of this pipe, which we hope it'll start in the next couple of months and have it completed also by the end of next year. So as far as the town and the goals of the town, we've gone as fast as the town can, but we're regulated. We have a long list of permits we have to go through in order for us to actually get to where we are. As a matter of fact, I was very excited how quickly we got it done when we were told by different people. In fact, the day that the authority voted to accept Burlington, also voted to accept another town that had been at it for close to 10 years. So we got it done in what they consider record time. I mean, I wasn't happy about the long term, but that's what it was. So I know I went a little quick. We posted a lot of information on our website. Some of it is right on the direct page when you enter the website for the town. Some of it is in the DPW water treatment section. But also you can find information by doing EPA PFAS or Mass DEP PFAS. There's a lot of information out there, which again, we're going to be sharing with all the residents when we do their public education portion of this. So with that, I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Mr. Morandi. You have to unmute. There you go.
Once again, I have to unmute. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. John, I know we've talked about this. Could you please give me a rough idea of how many towns this has affected? So it's not just Burlington. It's not just our water supply. How many towns has this affected?
You know, I have two things, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Mr. Miranda, because there are in Massachusetts alone, the list is growing, but we probably have 40 communities right now, and the list is growing, in which everybody's having decisions. The reason we have the issue is because this is a chemical or a list of chemicals. They call them forever chemicals. They don't degrade in the environment. So even though they haven't been made in the United States for about 30 years, they're still in the environment. They just don't go away. So everybody who uses water, and I have a whole list of towns that I've been dealing with this for a long time and will continue to. Just today, I read something in Boston Globe about a number of other towns that are hitting that. So we have it's a long list of towns, unfortunately, and everybody's juggling to see how they get to the solution. Thankfully, we were more than halfway there when it comes to the MWRA. So we're going to get that a little sooner than other people. But yes, there are a large number of water systems in the state.
And just a quick follow-up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. They change these numbers constantly. I've been on this board for 6 years, and the way they work it is you could drink a glass of water today, take the glass of water that you just had, and tomorrow they could tell us, well, you can't drink that because of some chemical isn't enough or not in there. Is this correct?
You're correct. This is a new, we talked about the new regulated compounds when we were talking about the Vine Brook facility and how we didn't know what else they were going to regulate in the future. This falls under that category. This is something that, I want to say 5 years ago, nobody was talking about. All of a sudden, they can test these chemicals to a much smaller level. Notice that this is parts per trillion. And now there's a new standard, which we need to follow. There is no changes that were made to our treatment or our water source. It's a change to the regulation. So that's basically what it is.
All right, Joe, you muted.
Betty, that's so good. Listen, So there's one last thing. It says, said drinking water standards for 6 PFAS at 20 nonograms per liter. I don't know what a nonogram is, even if I'm saying it right. But when you're into 40 parts per trillion, we're talking an eye drop in Horn Pond. Is that what we're talking about?
You are correct. I actually did a quick calculation to see what he meant in Burlington system, and 20 nanograms per liter is approximately the equivalent if somebody dropped a drop of water in our tank every 6 hours. So just imagine
one
how
drop
diluted
every
that is.
6 hours.
One drop every 6 hours.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Joe, you all set?
I am good. Thank you very much.
Mr.
I'm going to
Hogan?
mute myself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, not so much a question as just an acknowledgement that having been on the board going into my 12th year, this is a conversation that did come up when we started to have these serious conversations and serious meetings and serious committees about water and going to the MWRA. That in fact, that first time that they changed the numbers on us wouldn't be the last. And we're seeing it, and we'll probably see it some more. So going to the MWRA was a smart move for us. Jimmy and I sat on a town meeting water committee, and I know that some of those members of that committee also said it was probably one of the best things that they had done serving the community. And I have to agree, we just stepped off at the right time, and we made all the right decisions. So we're doing good. So congratulations to everybody involved in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Mr. Runyon, Mr. Priest, any comments?
Yeah, Jim, just
Yes, Mr.
quickly, obviously, we take our water quality very, very serious. There's probably no more important issue in town here than having potable water for the community. I just want to thank Mr. Sanchez for the swift action we've decided to take in response to the new guidelines. I do feel that we keep moving the goalposts, and it's difficult for us to keep up with those changes. I'm hoping, and I'm sure you are, that the new facility or the addition to the facility down there should be hopefully capable of treating these and potentially other contaminants that may come down the pipe, so I don't have to keep chasing them.
Thank you, Mr. Runyon. Did you have anything else, Mike? Okay. Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So a couple questions. So John, first question is, do we have an idea of what types of remediation will take care of the PFAS? And you know the name of them all. I just need to know we have because I was on EPA's website over the weekend, and like a lot of them listed were like, yeah, no, and I was getting a little worried. I was like, so it can't be remediated. So I just wanted to understand, that there is a certain subset of remediation avenues for us.
Yes, there are. So I do want to separate what a homeowner may want to do versus what us will do as a water supply. And maybe let's start with the homeowner first, and then I'll jump into that. Our goal is to have a system in place very soon. I mean, we're very aggressive as we've been in the past to get a solution to an issue. So I wouldn't want homeowners to go out and start putting filtering systems in their homes without knowing what they're doing. There are technologies out there like reverse osmosis that do work. There are a lot of filters that may or may not work when it comes to like carbon filters. So there's a lot of areas where I wouldn't think that it's a good idea for homeowners to become water treatment operators. So if anybody has any concerns about whether or not they should be drinking the water, I think they should consult with their physicians. And also there are alternatives that in the DEP website are given for even bottled water that they tested that will have no PFAS. But again, I wouldn't recommend these treatment systems. For a town, though, yes, there are technologies out there. Three of the major ones is reverse osmosis. Another one is resins, and probably the most common ones around here in Massachusetts will be what we call a GAC filter, which is granulated activated carbon. And we're gonna we're gonna look at the options. More than likely, the GAC will be our solution, only because the other ones tend to waste a lot of water, and that's something that we typically do not have when it comes to raw water, particularly the mill pond. I mean, we have a limited amount of water in the reservoir, and we can't afford to use 15 or 20% of it as part of a filtering system. So the GAC does work. It does remove these compounds. So the question is how big these filters will have to be, and how efficient will they have to be to remove what we need to remove. But yes, technology does exist.
Okay, that's great to hear. And thank you for kind of like leading with the home stuff first, because that was gonna be part of my next question. So maybe as a part of the public education, maybe we can like, steer them in the right direction for folks kind of who want to get a filter on their house. So this is almost a rhetorical question. I feel like one that we kind of have to be on our toes around. And it's, with the state moving the goalpost, to Selectman Ryan's point, you know, is there a way for us to maximize our dollar spend on remediation systems, so that, if we're going to remediate for PFAS, the system that we're installing today for X number of $1 million, can be upgraded to also remediate something else that may be brought down by, state regulations, so that we're not spending another X million. You know what I mean? Like I'd hate to spend $15 million every 5 years because the state continues to adjust their, and now all of a sudden we've got just a whole slew of remediation stations all around Mill Pond. And it becomes this eyesore and a pain to maintain.
No, that's a very good question, and there's something we will look at as we're going through the process. We actually had conversations already about all the issues that we have at the mill pond right now. It has to do with iron and manganese, and how the treatment process may be changed and improved, since we may need to include a GAC filter at the end. So yeah, we're looking at the entire system as a whole. Obviously, we're not going to double the price of this or triple it if there's something that may come down the pike. But we're going to look at the areas that we know right now. If we can take care of it right now, we will.
That's all I have for now. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Mr. Priest. John, real quickly, Christine Warren had a question regarding carbon filtration and reverse osmosis and how effective it is in removing PFAS. Anything additional to add to that? Or Christine, if that question hasn't been answered, just let me know. But I know you touched on both of those subjects.
So both of them are effective, GAC as well as reverse osmosis. I mean, both of them have different costs. When it comes to reverse osmosis, you use a lot of money pumping through the filtering systems, the membranes, and that gets expensive. When it comes to the GAC, every so many months you're gonna have to replace the media, which is also get expensive. So it's a little bit of both. But yeah, both of them are effective. And Mr. Chairman, also,
Yes.
and I forgive me for this, but I was supposed to mention that Russ Makish, our water manager, is also present at the meeting, who has been very involved when it comes to this issue with PFAS as well. So I just didn't want to not mention that he is around, so in case that somebody may have a more specific trimming question. But
okay, that seems to be the only one that I've seen, and it sounds like you've answered it. Real quick, just for those who would like to see a visual representation of this, I read the story today about Wayland and Natick. They're both dealing with it as well, and what I saw was that in order to picture it this way, 1 drop of water in 28 Olympic-sized pools is 1 part per trillion. So that's the representation that I read. So that's what we're talking about: 1 drop of water in 28 Olympic-sized pools for 1 part per trillion. Anything further on this?
I have just one quick question, Mr. Chairman.
Randy, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thanks for seeing me again. John, what does it mean for the residents as far as the water ban goes? A Are we looking at a water ban at this point, because of this problem?
So,
Or
we're not proposing a water ban right now because whether or not we have outdoor watering, and I'm basing it completely on PFAS. I mean, if there's a drought, I mean, all bets are off, as you know. So I'm talking about PFAS. So whether or not we have a water ban, the water coming out of treatment plants concentration is not going to change. We're still going to have the same amount of PFAS coming out. So it doesn't really benefit the residents greatly if we were to have a water ban. Having said that, DEP, once that we trigger the quarterly MCL, which will be at the end of June, DEP may impose all kinds of different things on us. They're regulators and they have, different rules that they may need to apply. And that may be one of them. Now, again, I just wouldn't see the connection, but I just leave it open to some of the things that DEP may want us to do at that point. But for now, nothing has changed yet.
thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing nothing further, we'll move on to the next item, which is a continued public hearing. And just for those out there, because it's a public hearing, if you want to unmute yourself on the phone, it's *3, *3, however you refer to it. So the next item is a continued public hearing regarding Del Frisco's Grill. And Mr. Upton, can you update us on this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am pleased to inform you that the landlord has approved a new, which, as you may know, was the one big sticking block. So they've approved a new tenant. They're in negotiations with this.
Andrew, you're giving us good news, but we can't hear it because it keeps cutting in and out. Try again, Andrew.
Can you hear me now?
We can. We like hearing good news, but it keeps cutting out. So go ahead, continue. Now you're muted, it says. There we go. Try it again, Andrew.
We have a new tenant. I'm trying
Okay.
to be short and sweet.
Okay. So this is that it, Andrew? Is that it from you?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's
Okay.
we feel like it's great news, and hopefully we'll be able to transfer the license fairly quickly once the landlord finishes the lease negotiations.
It's great news, and because this is a public hearing, I'd like to open it up to the public. If there's anybody here who'd like to speak on this issue, the Del Frisco's Grill on. Betty, Paul, Nick, anybody in the public?
Nothing here.
No?
Nothing here, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Hogan.
I know you probably can't tell us because the lease isn't signed yet, but what kind of timetable are they looking at, Mr. Upton?
Looks like he stepped away from his computer. Oh,
Well, do we want to close the public hearing in the meantime and then ask questions?
I think you're gonna wanna continue this, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Betty, do you have a date and time, for that?
Well, we could go to our next meeting, which is June 14th, just to get an update. Or we could go to June 28th. Andrew, if you could hear me, do you know if either one of those will work for you or for Joe Devlin?
Andrew?
Why don't we then continue it to June, what do you think, June 14th? Is that too soon, do you think?
Andrew, did you get that question from Betty?
She was proposing a future date for an update?
Correct, June 14th. Is that a feasible date?
Yeah, that sounds great. I apologize for my technical issues here.
You're not
6:30,
alone.
Andrew.
All right, Betty, okay, then, Paul, we need a certain time certain, correct?
Betty suggested 6:30, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a motion to continue this public hearing to June 14th, 6:30?
So moved.
Second.
Morandi, second by Nick. Okay, Mr. Priest,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Morandi,
Yes.
and the chair's a yes, 500. Continuing this public hearing until June 14th, 6:30 PM.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your
Thank you,
patience.
Andrew. Okay,
Quick question,
yes.
Mr. Chairman.
yes.
Through you to Mr. Sagarino, do we have to put something in that motion that it may not be a remote meeting and that it may be an in-person or anything like that?
I don't believe so, Selectman Hogan. I think that just continue to our next meeting, and in the meantime, we'll decide how that's going to be held.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, item 132 is approval for the final conservation restriction for Wheeler Road self-storage. Mr. Keeley, are you with us?
I am.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you've already discussed this. This is where the jumbo self-storage is going on Wheeler Road on either side of Rounder Way. So you've discussed it and voted for it. So now we're just looking for signatures. I know actually you're not in person, so we can't get signatures tonight. But this is to sign the final conservation restriction.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keeley. Members of the board, any questions on this? If you do, raise your hand. Mr. Priest,
I was just curious, Mr. Keeley, do we know what this brings our total conservation amount to for the town of Burlington?
I don't. So they will continue to own this. This is a conservation restriction. So
Okay.
our conservation lands are around 300 acres, I would say, but this will still be their land.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Sure.
okay, thank you, Mr. Priest. Mr. Morandi,
No, I just want to congratulate Mr. Kelly on this. There's a lot of work involved in this. He does another great job with what we got as a backup. It was really, really interesting reading. I just want to thank him for that, for keeping me busy over the weekend. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Morandi. Mr. Hogan, did you have something?
Just the approval that we're getting tonight. Is our signatures the approval, or do we have to actually take a vote before we give the signatures?
I believe that you voted last time.
Yes, John, they did vote, but through the chair, would it be okay to take one vote that we are finalizing it and that the final document looks great to us? Would that be comfortable for you folks?
So it would be a motion to approve the final conservation restriction?
And to sign it, yes.
Okay. Okay,
But I'll make that.
Michael, anything before we move on? Vote? All right, that being said, I got nothing either. I'm looking for a motion to approve the final conservation restriction for Wheeler Road self-storage.
So moved.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Hogan,
Second.
second by Mr. Morandi. Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Priest,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Morandi,
Yes.
and the chair's a yes, 500 to approve. Thank you, Mr. Keeley.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, item 133 is update and approval, Recreation Department summer programs. Brendan,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How are you this evening?
we're doing great.
Good. So this is our annual request for the use of the town common for our summer concerts and performances, children's performances. When you receive the request, you probably got a write-up that talked about people pre-registering and following the guidance that's put out by the state, and we're all aware that all the guidance is rumored to be lifted on May 29th. And so obviously, if there's any guidance that continues going forward about gatherings or anything, we will abide by that. We do have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow with the Board of Health just to go over and make sure our plans mesh with what the guidance is from the state. But again, these are our concerts and performances out on the town common, and will take place on Tuesdays and Wednesdays throughout the summer.
Thank you, Brendan. Kelly, did you want to chime in at all? You just here for the show. All right, great. As the board, any discussion on this?
Um,
Yes, Mr. Hogan.
Not so much a discussion on this, but if Brendan and Kelly, if you would extend to the Sullivan family, Kevin is a member of your board, the passing of the Sullivan, their mother, a very lengthy and very interesting and passionate obit on the Sullivan page. If anybody doesn't know Terry, lovely lady, lovely woman, and she's going to be missed by a lot of people. So if you would extend our sympathies to them.
We will definitely do that. Thank you.
Mr. Morandi, did you have something? No? Mike, Nick? Okay, real quickly on scaled down version of Celebrate Burlington. Any insight on that yet? Or are we still in the works?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we will be having a conversation with the Board of Health tomorrow. I'm sure that will play a role in our conversation. But
Okay.
we would like to see Celebrate Burlington take place again this year.
Excellent, because I think it's time to be Burlington again. So, all right, I'll need a motion to approve the list submitted by the Recreation Department as presented or as provided. Mr. Runyon, you made the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Morandi. Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Priest,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
and Mr. Morandi.
Yes.
And the chair is a yes, 500 for approval. Thank you, Brendan and Kelly.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 134, economic development. Melissa, the floor is all yours.
Good evening. Can you all hear me? Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. Again, my name is Melissa Tintopoulos, the Economic Development Director, and I'm here this evening to give an update on a few items. In particular, we have the task force, some business updates, as well as some kind of movements on kind of the larger corporate scene. So we'll start with the task force. As you may recall from last year, we had started a temporary request task force in response to COVID, and that consisted of town staff to really kind of go through business requests as they were trying to be creative and work around the COVID restrictions. A lot of this came out to be outdoor seating. And I just want to let you know, at this point in time, we have permitted again for this year 30 businesses for outdoor seating or some type of arrangement that's kind of in response to COVID. We have got word, and we've been working with the Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development and Secretary Keneally's office with regard to the lifting of restrictions and the implications of what that means for some of our outdoor seating. Right now, at the end, when the state of emergency is lifted, we'll have 2 additional months. And as you may have heard from Mr. Sagarino, that we are kind of being attentive to the state legislature because they are working to figure out some type of, I would say, policies or programs that might allow the good things, the creative things that came out of the response to COVID to kind of continue on. On that same front, locally, our task force is exploring, what we can do if there was kind of any kind of administrative review or policies that we can explore that would enable some of this creativeness to kind of still take place. A couple exciting ones that we got this year, which we are looking forward to still. Well, initially was the Parklet, which was going to be down 3rd Avenue. That's still moving forward. So that's taking some of the parallel parking spaces and converting that to outdoor seating area. the Tuscan Kitchen had explored doing some outdoor seating. At this time, they're holding off. They've done it in a couple other communities, but they want to see how this year goes with the changes on the outdoor seating policies for the state overall. And we are still working with certain businesses. For example, Szechuan Gourmet is looking to set out some tables out front. So those things are still in progress, and we're in communication with the businesses for those types of activities. Are there any questions on the task force?
Gentlemen, any questions regarding that? Mr. Priest.
Melissa, what's your sense of business owners wanting to maintain outdoor eating as a seasonal thing? Like, is that something that we should consider, post-pandemic?
Yes, so I've been part of a regional economic development kind of workforce, kind of comprised of planning directors, some town managers, and economic development professionals. And the general consensus is that this has worked for a lot of communities, and they want to keep it, the communities as well as the businesses. We haven't implemented this yet, but we are looking to do a survey to those businesses who have applied to us to see, has it worked for them, general kind of nitty gritty, because we have 30 people that we've been working with over the last year and a half, and we want to just see, what can we do to make that, continue that and help make that, kind of a positive environment for them. And so we haven't done that survey, but generally speaking, it's been really positive and people want to keep it, and they want the certainty that, it can't be just kind of pulled from under them, in that, they don't want it to be so arbitrary. They want to say, okay, give us the guidelines, we'll follow them, and just know that we can do this on a seasonal basis. And I think that's what they're looking for, so that they can invest in some decent furniture that they can use over and over, and kind of that type of approach from a business perspective.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Priest. Mr. Hogan.
Thank you, Melissa. Will part of that discussion deal with the number of total seating that exists now? Some businesses were given a certain number of seating based on the size of the kitchen, the size of the staff, and if that number has gone up by 50% or whatever, will they be able to handle that, and will that be part of the questionnaire?
Yeah, I think that Selectman Hogan, that's exactly what we want to explore, because currently one of the obstacles would be, this maximum seating capacity as it relates to your parking requirements. And so if you have, 200 seats, you have an X number of parking spaces. And so one option is to see if there's a way to allow for, still allow only that 200, but allow more flexibility if that's in or outside. I think planning board members had, cautioned, not to exceed the limit that had already been approved, given concerns on parking.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely.
Beyond that, are you hearing any improvement in the ability to hire staff in the restaurants that have been having those issues?
Not specifically, only kind of what we've kind of generally heard in the news, that, kind of the labor market has been tight to recruit for those jobs.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hogan. Mike, Joe, no? Okay. Okay, we're moving on
Okay,
to the task force.
moving on. So thank you, Selectman Tigress. I think the next thing I just wanted to, reference, I did pull for us through the town clerk's office and their reports on business certificates. Over the last year and a half, even through COVID, we do have 125 new businesses that have registered. And so they vary in size, scope. Some of them are independent businesses. Others are small retailers. Some have been serviced like barbershop. They have had, you know, T-Mobile retail. We've had some landscape, and some financial services. So those are kind of the bigger ones that pop up on that list. I'm happy to send that list out. I think it shows though that, you know, in terms of some of the small entrepreneurial businesses in town, we have had an uptick, and we're going to compare that to some of our neighboring businesses with Middlesex 3, just so we get a sense. But on a superficial level, kind of talking to the executive director with the Middlesex 3 coalition, that we have the highest number of small businesses that kind of been created over the last year and a half through COVID. So I'll be sending that list out.
Gentlemen, any comments on that? Joe, nothing about the barber shops. Any questions or comments for Melissa on that regarding the 125 new businesses that we've had?
Once we have a final report, we're trying to get a report together for ourselves, and then the Office of Business Development for the state. So we'll share that with the selectmen when we have that finalized.
Thank you, Melissa. My own opinion, 125 new businesses during the pandemic is not a bad number, I think.
Yeah, and I think, you know, a lot of it can be attributed to the fact that, you know, during COVID, we did have people, you know, staff in the office. We had a means to connect with people, even if things were physically closed or there was distance. We still had our online permit system. We had ways to make an appointment via, you know, whether it was Zoom or WebEx. So, you know, kind of I applaud all staff and, you know, kind of the approach to help keep things moving along overall as a team. That was really good.
And you're a big part of that team. Melissa?
Yes.
Anything else?
Yes. And so kind of moving from kind of the smaller scale to the bigger scale, one exciting piece of news is we've been working with Peter Milano from the Mass Office of Business Development, and they work with the Mass Life Science Center and Collaborative to really connect larger corporations who are looking to move into Massachusetts. And part of my job is to keep that relationship and be, you know, a representative for the town and have that communication with the state. And I think given that, we have been able to court a life science company that's looking to establish in Massachusetts. And as of Friday, they have signed their lease with a Burlington space, an existing space. The company's name is Butterfly Incorporated, and they are a life science medical device company. They're looking to move 250 positions, existing positions, into the district, with the plan to grow another additional 250 to reach up to about 500 employees for the district over the next year to 2 years, 18 months to 24 months. And it's, you know, from our perspective, it's extremely exciting in that we have bodies kind of reviving the district. And also it meets our larger community goals related to, you know, developing the life science cluster. As you know, with planning, moving forward on some initiatives to set the table with a regulatory framework and open some sites to life science, that's only part of the mix of what we need to do. Creating some certainty with our permitting, promotion of that space, as well as some other incentive programs, and kind of that mix is crucial. So I think this is a really positive sign. Butterfly in particular is a neat kind of company in that their approach is really trying to democratize some of the medical devices that are out there. In particular, their device is an ultrasound device. So if you're kind of familiar with ultrasounds, you know there's a specific cart, and you have to have a technician, and that kind of cart and the training that goes along with, ultrasound technician the card alone is, $60,000. Then your training and the technician. So it puts it in, an institutional level kind of device. Whereas Butterfly, their goal is, if you can, I might be able to share my screen, have a handheld device. Not only would it start out being a device, kind of like a stethoscope for a doctor, in that they do a handhold, or you could have a nurse do it. It doesn't have to have specified training per se. That eventually their goal is to make it so it's a device that, individuals can have at home. They scan themselves and then they upload that screen to their doctor. And that's kind of the affordability piece, moving it down to, more like the 4,000 and less kind of price range for doctors at this point, and individuals, their kind of long-term goal. And with that, that's kind of the development that they're having. Will be, part of their interest in coming out to Burlington is having that opportunity to partner with Leahy. One of their Leahy's strategic missions is to, partner and try out, medical devices through their research team. So I think they're excited, that hasn't existed yet, but that's part of what this move means for both of them. Are there questions on that piece?
Gentlemen,
Yeah,
Mr.
if I may,
Hogan.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Melissa, is now that we've got 125 new small businesses and Butterfly coming in and others, hopefully, is there something we can do to help in the job search for people who are looking for work? Is there going to be resources for these companies to identify Burlington residents who may be looking for work, and in the same tone, the Burlington residents who may be looking to work locally, that they would have some information available that we could give to them, since you have nothing else to do?
No, I mean, Selectman Hogan, it's a great point. Workforce development, kind of rounds out what we're trying to do. Not only, making it, enhancing the quality of life for residents if they can access, high quality paying jobs locally. Also reducing traffic, keeping things in kind of a reasonable commute. So those are all positives of that. Making sure that we have the right training for our residents is another part of that. So we have been working with Mass Hire. We don't have any specific agreement or anything at this point. We haven't talked to Butterfly with about that piece yet. But our, from this office, the Economic Development Office, as you know, we have the B2 Life Training Program, which is a grant program for life science and healthcare. $8,000, up to $8,000 per year per student. If you're a Burlington resident, or you've worked here, or you've been unemployed due to COVID, that is something we have. And Mass Hire has been our partner for that. Also under development and kind of hoping to be unveiled by June would be our website that is intending to post job opportunities for the local area. So those are two kind of more indirect ways to, start to connect our people to the jobs that are here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Hogan. Anybody else? Any other comments, questions for Melissa? Mr. Priest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bob, to that point too, I'd even ask Melissa about, putting together some kind of a package that would go to Butterfly, just making them aware of like housing opportunities, right? If they were coming, because they're currently located, if I remember correctly, in Connecticut. And so, if they're relocating folks up here, obviously they'll be looking for housing. And if they need, condos, apartments, whatever, to keep them in the community and within walking distance of their, job, would obviously cut down on, traffic infrastructure use, and, be great across, several areas. So I think that, as we continue to build this relationship, there's lots of opportunities for us to kind of, get more folks involved. I love this technology because, it's very much like point of care. right? So it's, it's servicing folks who are in rural areas who can't get to the hospital. On the website, that they talk about how it's great for veterinarians because it's an affordable way of, ultrasounding, animals. So it's very versatile use, technology, which is very neat. I just want to, just take a moment and acknowledge that this is the culmination of a lot of different things through a lot of people and boards and bodies in this community, right? We, went for platinum status. We adjusted bylaws through town meeting. We made the effort to hire Melissa, in this role of economic development director. And, through all of these efforts, right, we're now beginning to see, businesses who want to come to Burlington, who are going to make infrastructure improvements, building improvements. It's not like they're going to be building a brand new building somewhere with 1,000 bodies, right? We're looking at an existing building that they're coming to. It's very exciting, and I just want to acknowledge and thank everyone who's been involved with the past. I mean, it goes beyond 3 years, but all of the effort that we've all made to see this vision through. So thank you to everybody who sees it and hopes for a continually sustaining Burlington.
Thank you, Mr. Priest. Mr. Runyon, Mr. Randy, any questions? Oh, Melissa, anything further? Any more good news?
Trying to think. Those were my top things.
Well, you know what? We'll take what you gave us. So that's fantastic news. And Melissa, I think I speak for the board when I say a lot of this can't be done without you. So you're the the nexus to a lot of our success. And I just want to thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you, Selectman Tiggis. I appreciate that. I think I did want to mention that, kind of on the heels of our town meeting, and kind of going along with what, Nick was, Selectman Priest was saying, in that, part of what we want to do is also tell this story. So we are putting together a press release for the zoning change. As things come together with Butterfly, we'd like to do a joint press release with that. And then we'll be using kind of the Bring Me to Burlington social media site to get that out and boost that throughout the different kind of networks, so that story and kind of the positive things that are happening and these success stories are really kind of come to life through the communication that we can get out there.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Like I said earlier with Brendan from the rec department, it's time for Burlington to be Burlington again. So, all right. Anything else, Melissa, before we move on?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sagarino, I know you and Mr. Sanchez have another meeting after this. Is there anything that you wanted to take out of order that needs to be addressed so that we?
Mr. Chairman, John Denizio is in the meeting as well, and he and I walked through the agenda. So when I have to leave, John is ready to take over.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Sagarino. Okay. Next item, 135 is approval for Pride event on the Common, June 13th. Kelly Moe, you with us?
Hi, it's Carrie with an R.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wrote, Carrie, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. There I am. Hi.
There you are.
So yes, we're really excited. Planning is underway. We have the date, June 13th. We have the times. We've been in touch with everyone we need to be in touch with. We've had a lot of support from the community, which has been wonderful. We're looking at a family-friendly event with a DJ, music, activities for kids. The library is going to come do a story time. And we're really hopeful that it's a really fun, great day for Burlington. Do you have anything to add?
No, that about sums it up.
Any questions, we're happy to answer.
Okay, let me open up to the board. Members of the board, any comments or questions regarding this? And then it's an approval as well.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hogan.
Yeah, Carrie, you've been in touch with all the bodies in town as far as the town goes, getting permission and guidance on what can and can't be done and all of that. If you have any questions, you know who to call and who to check with, correct?
Betty's been fantastic. Betty set me up for success. She told me exactly who I need to talk to and what I need to say. And so she's
And
great.
then if she said, then it's going to be a success. Thank you. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hogan. Anybody have anything else? There being nothing else, no other further questions. Anybody want to make a motion to approve the Pride event on June 13th?
Oh, I would absolutely do that. I'd make the motion that we approve it.
All right, I saw Mr. Hogan made the motion, Selectman Runyon seconded. Okay, I'll take a roll call vote to approve. Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
Priest,
Yes.
Mr. Runyon,
Yes.
Morandi,
Yes.
and the chair's a yes. 500, Kerry. Good to go.
Good luck.
Okay, next item. 136 has been, the petitioner withdrew it for opening it, so we're gonna take no action on that item. Next agenda item is a continued public hearing, Patio Restaurants. I believe Mr. Vaughn might be here. Mr. Vaughn, a representative, Mr. Richard.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman. Gene Richard, I represent Fogo de Chaux, and I believe Mr. Vaughn is or just coming off of vacation, so I
Another one?
agreed. I didn't know of any others, but I agreed to come today, and I'm pleased to announce that we filed the license transfer application today with the Selectman's office, and I understand that the department staff, Burlington department staff, will be providing comments to the board, and also that the Selectmen Alcohol Subcommittee could call a meeting with Fogo, and of course, Fogo representatives, of course, if the subcommittee wants to meet with us, we'll be happy to make ourselves available to discuss the floor plan or whatever else might come up.
Okay, Mr. Richard, just, if I seem a little off, although it's spelled differently, Gene Richard is my mother-in-law's name, so I'm a little, caught off guard by that.
Well, my wife's name is Toby, and very often when we're introduced, people think I'm Toby and she is Jean. So that's certainly possible.
Okay, members of the board. Yes, Mr. Hogan.
I'll start the conversation. Joe, please feel free to jump in. Mr. Richard, have you been informed of the discussion, or at least the beginning of a discussion with the transfer of the liquor license from Patio to you, that there is some conflict amongst maybe some of the members of the board? The Burlington Mall got an awful lot of licenses this past year dedicated just to the Burlington Mall address. And the Patio license is a general town license. And we would like to keep that as a general town license, so that if someone wants to move into town someplace else besides the mall, that we have a license available. Have you been informed of this issue?
No, sir, that's the first I've heard of that, actually.
Oh, that's too bad. So there has been a very brief discussion, and we weren't all, we couldn't talk about it because we didn't have an application applied to. But you may want to talk with council, and you and I can certainly talk, and Mr. Morandi as the subcommittee, about the idea that there are plenty of licenses available at the mall for you to consider. And we are going to tell the folks at Patio that we're going to work with them as much as possible to make sure we pass this license on to someone in town who may want to be someplace besides the mall. Should members of the board vote for that?
Yes, as I say, I was not aware of this. I understand the issue. I'll have to discuss it with my client, obviously, but welcome getting into that with the subcommittee and the board itself.
Yeah, because this shouldn't stop your client from getting into town and beginning the work and opening successfully because the licenses at the mall are available.
Yes, I heard that. As I say, I have no knowledge as to what is available. Or I think just speculating, but the concern would be whether my client paid or had some financial commitment in terms of this license in particular. I don't know, but I will investigate that.
Okay. That's all I have at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Members of the board, anything else? Mr. Morandi?
I agree with Bob. We're gonna have to sit down and discuss where that license is coming from. What we're gonna do about that before I make any commitment on that at all. All right, just Mr. Vaughn knows how to get in touch with all of us. I believe there would be the right thing to do is sit down myself, Mr. Hogan, and you, and discuss that license issue before it goes any further.
Thank you, Mr. Morandi. Mr. Priest?
I guess this question is either to Bob or Joe or Paul, whoever wants it. Have we talked with the state, the ABCC, around what our options are with regard to, the license of the mall, this license, and where that all stands?
Without getting into too much detail, the answer has to come back that it's our decision to follow this path.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Priest. Thank you, Bob, for that answer. Michael, anything?
No, Mr. Chairman, are we just looking to, we're looking to continue this at a later date, correct?
I believe so, yes.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion's
Betty
been
has,
made.
Betty has a date for us?
Betty,
Yeah, so we do have the application and we told them they could come back on June 28th at 6:30.
okay, Michael's made a motion to continue this public hearing to June 28th at 6:30. Do I have a second? Mr. Morandi's a second. Okay, members of the board, I'm gonna take a roll call vote to continue. Mr. Priest?
Yes.
Mr. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Runyon?
Yes.
Mr. Morandi? And the chair's a yes, 5-0-0, to continue to June 28th, 6:30 PM. Okay, the next item is.
Thank you, Attorney Richard.
Sorry, Betty, you had something?
All set. Thank you.
All right. So the next hearing is a new public hearing for a new alcohol license, Palm Restaurant, doing business as Palm, 75 Middlesex Turnpike. Mr. Hogan, do you have the public hearing in front of you? Are you able to read that?
I do.
Do you mind opening it
Hold
up?
on one second. Hold on.
Right.
Hold on. My apologies. Okay, yes, I do.
Okay,
Uh,
Nick, you're on deck.
The
sorry.
Burlington Board of Selectmen hereby gives notice that it will hold an online WebEx public hearing on Monday, May 24th, 2021 at or after 6:30 to consider the application for a new all alcohol license and common victualers license for Parm Burlington LLC, doing business as Parm, for premises to be located at 75 Middlesex Turnpike here in Burlington, related to the operation of a new restaurant and to include full service food and beverage operations with the alcohol license request as allowed by Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 138. The plans are available on the town's website.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Mr. Secretary, I believe we have to take a vote to open the public hearing.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, do I have a motion to open the public hearing? Mr. Morandi, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Priest. Okay, roll call vote to open the public hearing. Mr. Priest,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan? I can read your lips. I believe that's a yes.
Yes.
Mr. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Morandi,
Yes.
and the chair is a yes, 5-0-0 to open the public hearing. Mr. Garrett, are you representing this agenda item?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and the members of the board. For the record, Attorney David Garrett, representing Parm and the Major Food Group Also here with me is Bill Proya from our office, and Julia Pay and Tom Favreau from Major Food Group. Here we're excited to be here in connection with a all alcohol liquor license application for Parm. Parm in the Burlington Mall. Parm is a restaurant that serves Italian American fare, classic Italian American fare. I'm particularly excited about their chicken parm and their meatball parms. I've heard they're excellent, although I haven't had one yet because this will be their first location in Massachusetts. They have multiple locations in New York, and we're excited that they've chosen Burlington for their first Massachusetts location. The design is for both indoor and outdoor seating, and I'll walk through the floor plan in a moment. But there's a couple of patios. They're located in the northwest corner of the mall, kind of on the side that faces what we refer to as the old tire and battery building. They're in what was formerly the Sears area of the mall. I'll pull up, let me share my screen here and I can pull up. So this is a map of the overall mall building. Parm will be in this corner here, and this is that old, what is now has Sweet Green and used to be the tire and auto building. So Parm will be in this corner over here. And here's a floor plan. So this is a floor plan of the building here. And you'll see that there's some outdoor seating here and also on this side. This faces north to Mall Road, and this is west to Middlesex Turnpike. And then you'll see inside, the floor, the layout and the kitchen there. As for the manager is the proposed manager is Tom Favreau. He has an extensive history in food and beverage service, including possessing a bachelor's degree in food service management from Johnson & Wales and over 10 years working in restaurant and food and beverage service. He's completed a tip certification and he also has read and familiarized himself with the Burlington regulations for licensing and sale of alcoholic beverages, and also its policy on licensing servers of alcoholic beverages. Being someone that's been involved in food and beverage service for so long, he's very familiar with the importance of following those regulations and is committed to doing so. Here, I also would like to show you all here's a elevation mock-up of what the location is proposed to look like. We have been through a special permit process with the planning board, which has been completed, and including the outdoor seating here and here. Does the board have any questions for me or the members of Major Food Group who are here?
Thank you, Mr. Gret. Gentleman, Mr. Hogan.
Thank you. Forgive me for not remembering from our last conversation, David. The seating capacity, does it include the outside seating year-round, or is there an adjustment for that?
I believe the seating capacity listed on the application includes the outdoor seating capacity. However, say that again.
Year-round? Is it the same total?
No, I don't believe the plan is to use the outdoor space year-round.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Hogan?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, my screen is limited. Any other members of the board want to have any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Morandi.
All right, Mr. Morandi. All right, I can't see, so I'll just call on them. Mr. Morandi, do you have any question, concern, comment?
He's on mute. Oh, there he goes.
Okay, number one, could you go back to a full screen if that's possible? So we can see everybody on here again, because we still have the Palm Restaurant on here.
Sure. Yep,
Thank
I'll
you.
stop sharing. Sure.
Thank
There
you
we
very much. Thank you. That helps me out a lot because I'm thinking about food while I'm looking at that picture of the restaurant. We did have, myself and Bob had a wonderful meeting with them the other day, and everything that we asked for, they were more than helpful with all the stuff that we were looking to do with this particular restaurant. So I'd be in full favor of this restaurant getting the approval for the license tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Morandi. Mr. Priest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a point of clarification. This is a mall license, a mall-specific license that's going to them?
Correct. Yes. Yeah, it's a special ledge license, all liquor license.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Priest. Mr. Runyon.
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Where this is a public hearing, I'm going to open up to the public. Anybody from the public have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding this request, this application? Paul, Betty, Nick, let me know if anybody chimes in.
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Hey,
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
very good. Nick? Nope. All right, Paul, would we be looking for a motion to approve that now, or close the public hearing, then approve?
Yes, sir. Close the public hearing and then the board can deliberate and take a vote on this, please.
Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing? Hold on, Mr. Hogan, you got a question?
No, are we taking two votes, one for the license and one for the manager?
Paul, I'll defer to you on that. Or
I
Betty,
lost
one of the
Paul.
two.
That's fine. Tonight we're going to be approving the common vic license and the all alcohol license. You may approve the new manager as well. On a new restaurant, you do not have to approve the new manager, but I always think it's a good idea.
So we can take them both together.
Yes, you may.
Okay, thank you.
We don't want to leave Tom hanging out there.
Okay. That being the case, I'll be looking for a motion to close the public hearing. Mr. Runyon, do you have a second? Mr. Morandi? Okay. Roll call vote to close the public hearing. Mr. Hogan?
Yes.
Priest?
Yes.
Mr. Runyon?
Yes.
Mr. Morandi?
Yes.
And the chair is a yes. 500 to close the public hearing. And just a reminder to anybody who's listening, *3 if you want to unmute yourself to talk. Okay, the public hearing is closed. Now I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Morandi
I'll second.
and Mr. Hogan is seconding. Okay, a motion to approve all alcohol license for Palm Restaurant doing business as Palm, 75 Middlesex Turnpike. I'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Priest?
Yes.
Mr. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Runyon?
Yes.
And Mr. Morandi?
Yes.
500. Okay, Mr. Gret, you're all set on that one.
Thank you very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome, guys.
See you all at
See
Palm.
you all soon.
Okay, next item on the agenda is another new public hearing. It's an all alcohol special license for Common Craft Holdings LLC. Who is here for that? Mr. Gret, is that you as well?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a public hearing. Mr. Runyon,
Motion to open a public hearing, Mr.
Oh.
Chairman.
I was gonna have Nick read it, I believe, and then I'll take that motion. Nick, can you read notice?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. The Burlington Board of Selectmen hereby gives notice that it will hold an online WebEx public hearing on Monday, May 24th, 2021 at after 6:30 p.m. to consider the application for a new all alcohol license and common victualers license for Common Craft Holdings LLC doing business as Common Craft for premises to be located at 75 Middlesex Turnpike in Burlington, Massachusetts, related to the operation of a new restaurant and to include full service food and beverage operations with the alcohol license request as allowed in Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 138. Plans will be available on the town's website. Burlington Board of Selectmen public hearing notices are printed in the Burlington Daily Times Chronicle and also may be downloaded from the website in the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Priest. Mr. Runyon, you have a motion to open public hearing. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Morandi. Okay, I'll take a roll call vote to open the public hearing. Mr. Priest,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Runyon. I
I'm
believe-
sorry, yes.
Okay, Mr. Morandi,
Yes.
and the chair's, yes, 500 to open the public hearing. Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Mr. Morandi.
if I may excuse myself for a minute, myself and Mr. Hogan had a long talk about this at a subcommittee. One of my dogs is going crazy outside right now, so
Okay.
I will be right back.
Very good.
When are we going back to our regular meetings?
Not soon enough. Okay, Mr. Gret, floor's yours.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Again, thank you for your time. Here, excited to be here today in connection with another all alcohol license application, this time for Common Craft. Common Craft is planning a build out of a restaurant, also in the former Sears end of the mall, at the Burlington Mall. This time it's on the eastern side facing the district. It's not on the corner. It would just face the district and not Mall Road. Common Craft is kind of an exciting and unique restaurant idea, and we think something that's totally different than anything. It's certainly in Burlington at the time, currently, and really different than I think anything in the area. It's, to me, I'm pretty excited about it because as a lover of craft beer, it's a really neat idea. And I'm here with Larry Leibowitz, who can probably go into some more detail about the uniqueness of their plan and their design and their vision. He can probably speak better to that than me, but it involves both indoor and outdoor seating. There is an outdoor patio. As I said, it's facing the district. And I also have a floor plan that I can walk through.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. So you'll see here, so this is their floor plan. And you'll see here, what's very interesting about and unique about their idea is.
We're not seeing it, David.
Oh, you can't? I apologize. Let me try that again. Sorry. There we go. So how about now?
Yes, I can see
Okay.
it.
So this is the main entrance down here. This faces, this direction is to the district. And here is the outdoor patio area that I described. Their plan involves multiple rooms. There's, you'll see one here, one here, one here, and one up here. But what's unique about this is the rooms are all dedicated to a particular brewery's offerings or distilleries offerings. And then there's a common kitchen that serves food to all of the different rooms. And maybe Mr. Leibowitz wants to go into a little more detail about that.
Sure, Mr. Leibowitz?
Yes, thank you for having me. And thanks for visiting this again. So as we mentioned prior, I'm just going to catch you back up to speed. It's Common Craft is really a wonderful outlet to shine a spotlight on local producers who don't have the capital budget or operating budget to produce their own withstanding facility or secondary facility. And what it really does is it's an opportunity to create a restaurant space and highlight some of these what we call creative partners. And we're opening up with 2 beer partners, 2 craft beer, local beer partners, 1 distillery partner, and then the 4th space will be a flex space, which will start out as a wine emporium, but will often change with the times and the seasons. So some of the ideas that are on the table as the rotation happens would be to create a specified wine area, something on sparkling wines or maybe on old wine versus new wine. Another opportunity is to have a pasta producer or a honey producer or a coffee roaster. So it's not specifically based on just alcohol. However, the opening lineup will be alcohol related. And it's really a blank canvas for us to highlight craft producers in the area.
Thank you, Mr.
you.
Leibowitz.
Also, I do want to mention this is another 2020 special ledge license for the Burlington Mall, all alcohol, obviously. And just to highlight a couple things about Mr. Leibowitz, he is also tip certified, and he's completed multiple programs at the Culinary Institute of America. You all have received his resume. You can take a look at those. Sounds pretty interesting. He's been involved in food and beverage service for many years, including being the co-owner of multiple restaurants in Massachusetts. So I don't know if the board has any other questions for us or for Mr. Leibowitz.
Thank you, David. Can you just stop sharing so I can see the other members?
Yep, absolutely.
I can't tell who has a question, who doesn't. All right, board members, Bob, I'm gonna defer to you because you're on the subcommittee for alcohol. Any comments or thoughts on this?
The comments and thoughts are that this is a very exciting concept and an opportunity for us here in Burlington. We will be seeing them back for something else later, but as far as this goes, when we met, when Joe and I met with the applicants, I asked the question then, I'll ask it again now. What's the response that you're getting, Mr. Leibowitz, from the brewers about participating in this with you?
The response is absolutely amazing. They've really seen us as a catalyst to perpetuate their brand. For example, so some of these producers aren't able to open a secondary location because they don't have the facility to brew beer or create a whole nother capital expense, and by us giving them that opportunity and working with them and taking their brand is been phenomenal, and it's been really well received. It wasn't very hard to find. It wasn't very hard to find the creative partners. In fact, there's a great amount of demand that was as far as interest to link up, and we just wanted to make sure that we had a really good mix to open with.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, one more follow-up if I might.
Absolutely, Mr. Hogan.
Larry, how often would you make a change from one room to another as far as the beer goes?
Excellent question, Bob. We have a contract with the creative partners for 3 years, and it may be longer, but we asked them to sign for 3 years for the main reason that we're investing a lot of money into their space and making it their own. So as you saw, each space is very unique, and we're doing that in a way that will highlight their brand. So while Common Craft is an entity with our own employees, we're using their brand and their brand essence and their marketing and their image. So we're investing a lot of money and proprietary information to create their own experience within the Common Craft. So when you go into each one of the 4 different rooms, there'll be a different and unique experience from not only the fixtures and the seating and the lighting, but certainly obviously the beer menu and the way they serve the beer, whether it's based on their own style of a beer garden style or something a little bit more Americanized. We have one vendor which has specializes in some sour beers, so it's a really unique offering for them. But to get back to the root of your question, it's a 3-year commitment, and the flex space will change a little bit more often because that's not a branded concept per se. So while we're starting off with a wine theme, we have the ability to turn that into a reception area for a corporate event or for a wedding shower, baby shower, that sort of thing. So there is more flexibility, hence the name, the Flex Room, which will be self-branded, and that one has a little bit more flexibility because it's not tied to an exact partner.
All right, thank you, Larry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Morandi has returned.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Mr. Morandi, you had any questions on this? Quick comments?
I don't. I have questions about the next item that'll be coming in front of us for, but right now I'm pretty happy with this.
Okay, Mike or Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just real quick, much like the flex space, will the general space and the kiosk be just general branded and won't be stationed with a vendor? It'll just be Common Craft?
Correct. So Nicholas, so the Great Hall area, that general area is a general dining room area, and that will be a seating area for some larger parties. There will also be a projector that'll have either either a sporting event or something that's highlighting of the day. It might be a black and white movie with no sound type of thing. So that common room is really just a common space that has accessibility to the menus and table service, etc. And the flex space, while it's not branded a creative partner, will have our own branding per se. So what the name is yet to be determined, but if we were to use a name like Terroir, which would simulate an old vine style of wine, that would be self-branded. It would have its own look and feel in that wine room, which would indicate to the consumer the type of beverage that's being themed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman, if I could
Yes, Mr.
respond,
Hogan.
Nick, to your question about the kiosk, that's off the table as far as this application goes. They're going to come back with that at another time that will address that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Bob.
Sorry,
Okay,
Larry.
thank you, Mr. Reese. That's right. Michael, anything? No? Okay. Mr. Leibowitz, I find this a very interesting concept. I'm not a craft beer admirer, but I think the whole idea is it's creative, it's different, it's like what we're looking for is something that's not mainstream, something like this. I think it'll be very successful based on my family's admiration of craft beer. But how about my question is, like around the holidays, would you be doing, say, an Oktoberfest event or something specific to the holidays?
Another great question. Yes, that is in the plans to do seasonal events, whether it be indoor or outdoor, utilizing some of the mall ability to partition off space in a green space, and certainly any special day permits that would be needed, we would go through the proper avenues to get that. And I'm well aware of what's needed as far as police detail and blocking off for areas fenced in, et cetera, et cetera. But yes, we would like to have special events, not only theme-based, such as you're saying, a great example is Oktoberfest, but another event might be for an annual release or a special release from one of these creative partners. If one of our creative partners brewed a special beer that's only available at the Burlington location, that's really something unique to us. That's going to drive traffic to the area. That's going to create a buzz within the beer community, and it'll create some scarcity demand as well. So we have plenty of ideas that not only feature limited time offerings, but also mini quote festivals or celebration. And then the last thing I would suggest would just clarify is while beer or craft beer, it represents 50% of the offerings, the other 50% is not beer. So I feel like we've checked the boxes for people that aren't necessarily beer lovers. Our distillery is teaming up with Deacon Giles Distillery out of Salem, who operate a speakeasy that very well in Salem, and they do a great job with that. They distill their own vodka, rum, absinthe, and make some canned cocktails as well. So there's going to be, I feel like there's something for everyone, and there'll be plenty of non-alcoholic beverages as well, including mocktails and certain beverages that are for people that don't indulge in alcoholic beverages.
Maybe you could encourage one of your brewers to come up with a Burlington themed beer, maybe Red Devil Brew or something like that. 'Cause you're the Red Devils.
I'm
I
writing it down,
really like
James.
the idea. So,
Yeah.
yes, Mr. Hogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Larry, I know that, the theme is the beer, but we also like to make sure that everyone understands that the main purpose to going to a restaurant may be to try the beers, but the menu is also important. Could you take a couple of minutes and talk about the menu? Because even though there's 4 or 5 different rooms, there's one kitchen, one menu that goes throughout the whole restaurant.
Correct. Yeah. So, it certainly is. It's a restaurant first. We have a bona fide menu, and as you can see from the plans, it's a pretty elaborate kitchen. So, they're expect to see some good food coming out of that kitchen and pairing well with the different menus. And for nothing else, we need an extreme amount of food sales to be able to meet our financial goals, just to be able to stay in business. So, restaurant primarily. And my background is back of the house, so it's food forward, and we're certainly not going to skimp on finding a very great kitchen crew to execute the menu and produce the food that goes along with all the other selections.
Outstanding, Larry. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Members of the board, anything further before I open up to the public? Okay. Anybody from the public want to discuss this article? Nick, Betty, let me know if somebody chimes in. John?
Looks quiet here.
Okay. Well, seeing there's no one from the public.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a
Yes.
motion to close the public hearing.
Very good. Mr. Morandi made the motion to close. Is there a second? Mr. Runyon? All right, Betty, Joe made the motion, Mike seconded. Roll call vote to close the public hearing. Mr. Priest?
Yes.
Mr. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Runyon?
Yes.
Mr. Morandi?
Yes.
The chair is yes as well. 5-0-0 to close the public hearing. I'll be looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a
Mr.
motion
Chairman,
to
if I-
approve. Oh, go
Go
ahead,
ahead,
Bob.
Joe. Yeah.
No,
go ahead.
Joe, go ahead. You were first.
I'll make a motion to approve Common Craft Holdings LLC. Then we
Seconded
have
by
the
Mr.
Common
Hogan, I
Craft.
assume.
Second, yeah.
Mr. Hogan seconded. Okay, didn't know it was gonna be this easy, huh, Mr. Grat? All right, motion's been made, so roll call vote to approve. Mr. Priest,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Morandi,
Yes.
and the chair is yes. 5-0-0 to approve.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the board. Appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
So
You did
welcome
good,
to
David.
Burlington.
Thanks.
Okay, item 140, acceptance of a microchip reader. Wendy, are you with us? Wendy Delmonico.
Hi, I'm here.
Hi, okay. This is all yours, so why don't you take it away?
Okay, thank you very much. So I am here because I was able to raise enough funds to purchase a microchip scanner for dogs who are lost, and I was wanting to donate it to the Burlington Police Department, but was told that I needed to come before the board in order to have them accept it. Do you want to know the story of how it came about? I don't know how much time you have. It's a short. I can make it short, but
You can make it short, yes, because we're running
okay.
late.
I'll do it as quickly as I can. So on Friday, April 16th, there was a husky lost out on Cambridge Street in the pouring rain. A friend of mine found him, brought him to the police department because he didn't have any tags on. And she got to the police department. They didn't have any leashes to bring him into the department. And they found a belt. They brought him in. And there was no way to identify who this dog was. The list that the dispatcher had of town registration tags was from 2018. So they would always need to, I guess, contact the animal control officer, whether or not he was on duty or not, in order to try to find out who this dog belonged to. Long story short, he was found who he belonged to, but it kind of sparked something in me that said, why don't we have a microchip scanner in town? It's pretty simple. And so I did a little bit of research and I bought one for $400 after checking with my vet as to which would be the best one, universal reader, which all veterinary hospitals have, but weekends, nights, they're not open other than the emergency hospitals. So I did a post on the Burlington resident page about this event that took place. And within 36 hours, I had raised not just the $400 for the scanner, but I raised $1,743. So there's a lot of animal lovers in town. And so then I said, okay, this is wonderful. I'm going to donate it to the Burlington Police Department to be kept at the dispatch desk so that if any animals are brought in without any tags or whatever, they can easily be scanned and hopefully the owner can be found that way. In the meantime, I had over $1,300 now to do something with. So I came up with the idea of a microchip clinic that I could use the funds to pay for microchips for people in town who don't have them for their dogs. I partnered with they're called Better Vet mobile pet vets, and they are going to run the event. I got permission from Brendan's office at the rec department to hold it at Simon's Park on June 13th. And so far we have 22 appointments blocked off and filled, and we have another 26 or so left to fill. So I'm here today just to get it approved to be accepted by the police department.
Great. Thank you, Wendy, and thank you for all your efforts on that.
Sure.
So, Mr. Morandi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, Wendy.
Hi,
So,
Joe.
Wendy, let me ask you a quick question. That money
Sure.
that you raised, I know it came from private funds. How many dogs roughly will that do?
That's great. I meant to say that. So normally, Better Vet charges $60 per microchip, but they're giving us a 50% off. So they're doing them for $30 for each dog. And so that's where I came up with being able to do 46 or 47 chips. And right now we have 22 scheduled. I was going to open it up also to cats being chipped because they can benefit from it as well. But Better Vet felt that with it being an outdoor event, there was too high a risk of cats getting away without not being an indoor event. And so we limited it just to the dogs.
Thank you. Wendy, all I can say is my boys over here, they miss you.
Oh.
Elvis and Enzo have been looking for you forever.
Oh, I love them.
But no, this is absolutely fantastic. I'm glad this took place and it's going to take place. Like I told you the other day, I couldn't wait to vote yes on this. So.
Yes, and I just want to say one more quick thing. I know you're running behind, but I just want to say like how we were able to already put it into use. So last Monday, on the resident page, there were 2 dogs on near Alcine Road that were on the loose, and I happened to catch the post, and there was a girl there from town who was able to coax one of the dogs into her car, and I said, you know what, I still have the microchip scanner, which is right here in the box. I said, I'll come down and try it out. I tried it on my own dogs and I found their chips, but I said, let's try it. You don't have to be a police officer to use it. So I went down there and there was a police officer down there from town, and I was able to go in and scan the dog. It brought us to a universal lookup site, which I have the website for that I'm going to share with the police department. It gave us the company because there's many companies that have the chips. It gave us the company name. We called the company, and within 5 minutes, I had the name of the dog, the owner's name, address, and phone number. And we were able to bring the dog back home. And the second dog, the family found later on that day. So it definitely works, and we didn't have to bother the animal control officer when he's off duty. So it was great. We've already used it. So.
Thank you, Wendy. Joe.
I just have one more thing to say. Sorry. The only request I have with this donation is that it be kept at the dispatch desk, not to go with in anybody's car, because the reason is it's for like after hour use. It's simple to use. And the main purpose of it is so that they can scan the dog and look it up right there at dispatch. So that would be the only like kind of stipulation, if I even have that authority. I have no idea, but that was my point of it, was to have it stay at dispatch.
Wendy, my suggestion would be to have it based in dispatch, but
okay.
In the example that a dog gets hit by a car and can't be brought
oh yeah,
to the
absolutely
police station, they can bring the device to
oh
the dog.
whatever. Yes, I just want to make sure that that was like its main purpose. Was I also donated like 12 slip leads, so I hope that the department can continue to get leashes if they need them. I'm happy to buy them for them, but to be able to keep slip leads, because like I said, we had to use a belt to get the dog into the police department. So it'd be nice just to have some slip leads there too.
Wendy, thank you for that. Any other members of the board? Mr. Priest and then Mr. Hogan.
I don't know. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I feel like we should just deputize Wendy and have her keep the scanner at her house. So Wendy, first off, thank you very much for everything you're doing. I think that this is a great example of, obviously we talk a lot about the municipal employees and the great work that they do on a daily basis. And this is an area where, the community saw an area for improvement and acted on it. And, it's through that community action that we see, even greater things happen, right? And it's a testament to you and to the community of Burlington, who've stepped up, and said, you know what? We love our dogs. We want to make sure that if they get out, we can find their homes quick, fast, and in a hurry and get them home. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, you're very welcome. It just kind of all sort of mushroomed over the weekend. It became way bigger than I ever expected. I never expected the community to donate that much money. And here I am sitting with this money. I'm like, what am I going to do with this money? I got to do something. So, so great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Priest. Mr. Hogan.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Wendy. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
We are, Joe may not be using your services right now, but as you're aware, we have 3 dogs who, Wendy's walkers, come and spend time with our dogs, and they look forward to the visit and the walks with them.
Yes.
And yes, to Nick's point, members of the community become like employees of the town when they see issues like you did and act upon it and make things better. But maybe we can figure out a way to piggyback with whatever organization may want to help do this, and have another fundraiser, and then have another tagging situation so that more people can participate in the future.
Sure.
But we certainly participate. As someone who has lost a dog to the wilderness for over a week until we found her, it takes a lot out of you, especially if you're a dog person.
Absolutely.
And Joe is, and if you're a dog person, I know Jimmy's had dogs in the past also. It can be gut wrenching if you lose them and can't find them.
100%. And on the resident page, I keep posting to try to keep bringing it up so more people will take advantage of it. I also feel like there's probably a lot of people that aren't on the Burlington resident page that may not have chip dogs, and I'd love to find ways to find them as well. Rich Hosford from BCAT just reached out to me today to do an interview with me, so I have to contact him tomorrow. But it would be great if we could come up with a way to, if anybody knows some maybe elderly people that aren't on the resident page, that really haven't been able to afford a microchip. I mean, like I still have to spend this money, so I don't know if anyone has any ideas on that, but
just call the Council on Aging and ask for Marge and have a conversation with her.
Good idea. I'll do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, hold on. Joe, 1 second. Michael, anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Wendy, thank you so much. That's a great story. It's times like this that, makes this job so satisfying when we get the opportunity to have items like this on our agenda. Just very, very, always, to have some good news from time to time is certainly welcoming. And thank you again for your everything you've done.
Well, you're very welcome. And honestly, scanning that dog and finding his owner was very exciting for me too. So I was just glad that the chip was actually registered. A lot of people don't know that they microchip their dogs, but if they don't fill out the paperwork and pay the $25 or whatever it is to register the chip, an unregistered chip is like having no chip. So there's a little bit of education there as well that I'd love to be able to continue to get out to people.
Excellent.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Joe, do you have one?
Yeah,
more
just
thing?
real quick, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Before we vote on this, to accept the microchip reader and discuss microchip event being held at Simon's Park, do we have a date for that, or is that going to be another meeting that we have?
It's already scheduled from Mr. Sagarino's office. It's and with Brendan and the rec department. It's Sunday, June 13th, starting at 10 a.m.
Don't we have an event on the common June 13th?
I just heard about the one that you have on the common, but this would be at Simon's Park up near the picnic
Okay.
table.
Yeah, totally separate areas.
Okay.
So Joe,
Yeah, I'm all set.
real quick, Wendy, my suggestion would be to see if you can put some documentation in with the town clerk's office. So when someone licenses their dog, that they become aware of this program, and maybe
Great.
even if it becomes an annual event, try to coordinate it with the annual rabies clinic, and maybe kill two birds with one stone.
Sure, okay.
Kill, but
Yeah.
so anyway, I'm gonna look for a motion to accept the
So,
microchip reader.
on that note, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to accept the microchip reader for the town.
Second by Nick. Okay, roll call vote to accept the microchip reader. Mr. Priest,
Absolutely.
Mr. Morandi,
Yes.
Mr. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
and the chair's a yes, 500. Thank you, Wendy.
Great. So I'll just bring it down tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Item 141, approval, Archer Hotel Entertainment License. Mr. Denizio, let me see if someone's from the hotel is in the meeting. Anybody from Archer Hotel here?
Looks
Mr.
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 Chairman, there's
Chairman,
a case on a call-in.
exactly.
Who is it? Can you
It's
identify
Mr.
yourself? I'm not seeing anything. I don't know who it is. Who is it again?
It's Mr.
Hello,
James.
are you able to hear me?
There you
Yes,
go.
we can hear you.
Hi, Chairman Teague. This is Albert Kolchkovsky, the general manager with Archer. How are you?
Good. How are you, Albert?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Well, thank you
why don't
for
take the meeting?
having us today.
All right,
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead,
could you repeat that?
I'm just gonna have you explain what you're looking for.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you to the board. Thank you, Chairman Teague. So currently, we had an event that had requested some outdoor entertainment. As we're in a bit of a recovery mode in the hotel, we're starting to see some more increase for some social events using the outdoor patio, as well as what we call Archer's Kitchen and Bar, which we conclude as a semi-private space. During those times, people are asking for a pianist, a harpist, or maybe some music, and we are aware that we would need to come before the board for a one-day license or permit. So as we are getting some increase, through especially the holiday season, we thought it may be to the best interest to present with just getting an entertainment license to have on hand, seeing that it would be in a public space or a semi-public space where other guests in the hotel would be able to be exposed or potentially hear that music. So that would be what we're here to offer today. It would be managed. It wouldn't be something that would be easily offered, but if it was inquired, we certainly would do that with some stipulations. As example, it was a corporate client that had an IPO offering, and they brought in a truck and they brought in a one-person guitarist just as a celebration for their company event for that day. So we hope that the board will take that under advisement.
Okay, Albert, thank you. Members of the board, any comment on this?
I have a couple of questions, if I might, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Hogan,
Thank you. I'm looking at the picture and the bar patio. It is all outside.
That is correct. So for the events, and I think the listing that we gave you is for the most recent license, if you will, where they wanted to have, and we're getting a lot of inquiries where they want to be completely outdoors, obviously due to the current nature of status that we're in. We do want to include that to Archer's Kitchen and Bar, which is inside. We utilize a section in the back of the restaurant as well to have potential entertainment that would, again, the public would be able to hear it, even though it's a semi-private space.
Okay, is that up, if I may, Mr. Chairman?
sure, sure thing.
Is that, if I'm looking at that picture, is that lounge area that's back just to the left of the kitchen?
It is, yes.
It is, okay. Now, would there be something going on at both locations at the same time?
No, we would only reserve the right to have one event, if you would, at a time.
Okay. Okay, so, but you're limiting it to 1 or 2 people, or how's that working?
Yeah, absolutely. We don't want a large venue. That's not in our DNA, if you will, for the hotel. So it would have to be more of an intimate, very casual setting. And again, I would say very tight guidelines for the hotel, not to impede or bothersome to our regular guests in the hotel.
Okay, and how many, 7 nights a week, or?
No, I mean, I think it's really, as I mentioned, it's kind of a per case basis. If we were to have, a bridal shower and they wanted to bring in some sort of a, 1 or 2 piece entertainment, that'd be something that we would allow or entertain. And again, I can't imagine that it would be something that we would have. It's not on an ongoing basis, but it would be maybe, anywhere from 1 to, maybe half a dozen or a dozen opportunities. It would be on a Saturday afternoon, a Sunday afternoon. It could be an early Sunday or Saturday evening. Again, the event that we had, it was from 3 p.m. until 5 p.m. So again, we're not looking to have live entertainment in Archer's Kitchen and Bar, other than this is for like special events that we would have in a semi-private environment.
Okay. All right, so you're not looking to have somebody come in at 12 o'clock and play through to 12 o'clock?
No, not at all. No, just as I would say a one-off. So again, they would reserve the space, and then if they asked for entertainment, then we could say that we would be able to allow it with the entertainment license. But we were very, very, very specific.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the moment, I think I am okay with that.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Anybody else have any questions? Mr. Runyon, then Mr. Priest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know in past applicants for entertainment licenses, they were sort of specific as to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday through Saturday, or things like that. This one's sort of vague. I'm wondering if we could maybe tidy it up a bit. I mean, you're not asking for one particular specific event here. Am I right?
Yeah, that is correct. And I think, that is correct. And I think I understand the question. I think that there's maybe some opportunity to improve. Our main goal or purpose is that, example, the company was SimilarWeb, and ideally they fell on a Friday from the time that they booked the event, but originally it was going to be for a Monday. But then they had some travelers that were coming in that weren't able to do it, so they moved the day. Just being in this type of an environment and kind of in the recovery mode, we're trying to just capture any and as much business as we can within the restaurant and the hotel. So I would say that we have some corporate inquiries generally in our private great room or event space. It would be a private room, so it wouldn't necessarily need any license or permitting. But when we go into semi-private, which we're seeing a lot more activity and inquiries on, we were hoping for a more open-ended, so that we wouldn't have to go in front of the board again for a revision, for a Tuesday event. And again, we would have, I'd be willing to put some really stringent guidelines in where cannot be after 9 o'clock at night. That allows us the opportunity just to have some sort of a venue potential for any type of a corporate and or social event during the weekdays or weekend.
I certainly appreciate that. I understand. The COVID has put a lot of stresses on a lot of our businesses and so forth in town. So I'm wondering maybe that. And I'm familiar with the Archer Hotel, and I'm confident that it's not going to be anything that's going to get out of hand that we're going to have to need to worry about. I'm wondering if maybe you may want to request an entertainment license to cover your bases 7 days a week, within certain parameters, hours or something like that so that you don't have to keep coming back here to the board for permission. If you happen to have something on a Tuesday or something like that, I'm confident, knowing the Archer Hotel and you're very certainly a responsible entity here in town, and I'd be comfortable with granting some sort of a 7-day license within a specific time frame.
Selectman Ryan, I believe this is for a 1-year approval.
But typically, Jim, they say some of the other ones have been for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, between the hours of this and that and so forth. This one is really very vague. So I'm wondering if you might want to just tidy it up a bit, rethink it a little bit, and give us some parameters. Right now, it's very kind of open-ended.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have an issue with it per se. I think where my concern comes into play is the fact that it's right there next to Redstone and Tony C's, and are these other places going to want to have similar entertainment? And being in such a close proximity, what is that going to do for noise and people kind of like, I don't know, standing just outside? I don't know. I'm just trying to think it through out loud. I have no issue with entertainment. Just want to make sure that, like, if we open this door, how do we then manage and mitigate moving forward?
Thank you, Mr. Priest. I know Third Ave often has their own entertainment on the green area between Tony C's and Asterio Nino too. So I'm not sure how that will affect this, if it does at all. Joe, did you have anything? I'm sorry, Nick, were you done?
That was it. Just a question to the board. Thank you.
Joe, did you have anything?
Mr. Chairman, I'm just listening right now.
Albert, quick question. Would you be willing to try to fine tune the application and come back? And
yeah, absolutely.
And,
yeah, I think so. I think
and maybe with the recommendations that you've heard here tonight, maybe fine tune it and a little more specificity, and just come back to the board and we'll take it then.
Absolutely, I appreciate the time, and I will take it back to the team, and we'll clean it up and tighten it up a little bit for you.
Okay. One quick question, John. Does this need a motion to continue? It's not a public hearing.
No, Mr. Chairman, it's not a public hearing. So.
Okay, Betty. Albert, you'll work with Betty on rescheduling or continuing this?
Yeah, I think I'd like Albert to work with Sandy because she has a lot of examples of other restaurants and what they're doing.
All right, Albert. So you work with Betty and Sandy on that, or Sandy on that, and come back and we'll take it then.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay, very good. All right, item 142 is approval of the 0 Mooney Road conveyance. The documentation was approved by town council, and therefore we need to take a vote to approve it. Before we do that, any comments on this? Right. Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion to approve the 0 Mooney Road conveyance.
Mr. Chairman, we have a very specific motion.
Okay, well,
so I'm gonna go ahead and make that motion.
Yes, why don't we do that? Yep.
I'm gonna go ahead and read this guy in
Mr.
here.
Priest,
Thank you.
Everybody buckle up. All right, so I hereby move pursuant to a vote of town meeting on January 28th, 2019, that the board accept from, I apologize if I say names incorrectly, Peter Natsius, trustee of Mooney Road Realty Trust, UDT dated March 22nd, 2006, and record at the Middlesex South District Registry of Deeds at book 47176, page 296. The parcel of land situated in Burlington, Middlesex County, Massachusetts, shown as Lot X on a plan entitled site layout plan by Eastern Land Survey Associates Incorporated dated November 16th, 2017, and recorded in Middlesex South Registry of Deeds as Plan Number 1 of 2019. Said Lot X contains 121 square feet of land, more or less, according to said plan, and that the Board of Selectmen convey the following parcels of land to Hector Bartholomew and Marie Charles, husband and wife, as tenants by the entirety of 2 Mooney Road, Burlington, Mass. 2 parcels of land situated in Burlington, Middlesex County, Massachusetts, shown as Lot X and Lot Y on a plan entitled Site Layout Plan by Eastern Land Survey Associates Incorporated dated November 16, 2017, and recorded in Middlesex South Registry of Deeds as Plan Number 1 of 2019. Said Lot X contains 121 square feet of land, and Lot Y contains 2,300 square feet of land, both being more or less according to said plan, and to Alton Langozzi and Brunilda Langozzi, husband and wife, as tenants by the entirety of 9 Oak Street, Burlington, Mass. A parcel of land situated in Burlington, Middlesex County, Massachusetts, shown as Lot Z on a plan entitled Site Layout Plan by Eastern Land Survey Associates Incorporated, dated November 16, 2017, and recorded in Middlesex South Registry of Deeds as Plan Number 1, 2019. And that the chair be authorized to execute any and all documents on behalf of the board as is necessary to effectuate these transactions.
I'm sorry, Nick, you muted. Can you try that again?
Was I muted?
I'm only
Do you need me to
kidding.
reread that?
Nick, you were on mute.
Here we go again.
Do I have a second to that motion?
You have a second.
Mr. Hogan seconded. Okay, roll call vote to approve. Mr. Priest.
Yeah.
Yeah, you better prove it after that. Mr. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Morandi,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
and the chair is a yes, 500 to approve the 0 Mooney Road conveyance. Okay, Nick, the next item is subcommittees, but we have subcommittees as well. Did you want to do everything at once, or do you want to parse these out?
Well, so these are for discussion and approval. So these are the 2 new ones that we're gonna be discussing.
Okay, so item 143 is discussion and approval of subcommittees, and these are both yours. So, Mr. Priest, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, not at our last meeting, but the meeting prior, I had unveiled these 2 new subcommittees, and their generalized mission statements, composition, all the fun stuff. And since then, some minor tweaks have been made, which you all received. I think we'll take these one at a time. I want to
that's fine.
clarify that I think that these should both be ad hoc committees. I was also informed by Amy Warfield, town clerk, that if they were to be standing committees, we would have to take them through to town meeting for approval. And so, to keep them more localized and focused to start, that they be ad hoc committees, and that, if we deem them to be more than that moving forward, much like we do with the ISAC, that we can then bring it to town meeting, to make them standing committees. So first up, we have the transportation subcommittee. Now, I know that Bob, you had mentioned the last time we spoke about this, the overall size of the committees was bolstering on large for both. And so I think, part of the focus of tonight's conversation to be around what we think a more appropriate, smaller size committee would be for the sake of functionality, with the understanding that, anyone who quote unquote didn't make the cut would obviously still be very much a part of the conversations, moving forward. So for the transportation subcommittee, we originally had, and as it is in the backup, 2 select board members, a planning board member, 2 at-large community members, a zoning bylaw review member, economic development director, planning director, police department member, DPW engineer, youth and family services representative, and council on aging representative. Now for transportation, obviously, it touches all of these facets. So I think that, regardless of what we pare it down to, they're all a major part of the conversation. But I wanted to get everyone's thoughts on number 1, composition, what we think is a more appropriate, and functional committee. And then two, just any other general thoughts around, the subcommittees themselves, their mission statements and charges, and anything of the like.
Okay, I'm gonna open up to the members. Mr. Hogan.
Thank you, Dick. I think, yes, obviously this, for me, this is very cumbersome. All the people who are listed here are valuable and hopefully will take part in the discussion. But I think for the sake of making a final decision, the number that works for me is 5. The other members may have a different slant on it, but the Board of Health is 5, the school committee is 5, the selectmen are 5. But I think that having 5 people who can get together on a regular basis rather than trying to get 12 people, at regular meetings works for me. By bringing in these specialists, I think it adds to the conversation. Those 5 that we pick to be the voting members will then, after they've gathered all their information and done everything that the charge asked for, they would then come to us being the Board of Selectmen, with a suggestion or a guide as to what then happens next. And then we have the conversation and go from there. So I think my number is 5, but I think all of these people, or at least by title, need to be involved in the discussion. And on this particular one, the resources that were given, studies that were done, a lot of homework has already been done for us or for the 5 members to start with, to give us a guide as to what we're thinking of, plus the town meeting report that was done by their committee. So yeah, I'm looking for something like 5, and and if anybody wants to have a conversation about the mission statement or the charge, tweaking that at all, I can have that conversation also. So thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Michael Joe? Mike?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I agree with Bob. I've been on some subcommittees where we, memory serves me correctly. I remember one time a few years back, we sort of merged the Housing Partnership Committee with the Senior Housing Options Committee. And frankly, nothing got done. You couldn't get an agreement. We had, some 12 members, and nothing ever, there was never a consensus, could never be reached. I think paring these down to a smaller group, in town meeting already, Nick and I both sitting on this committee that the town meeting has established and done some wonderful work. I've been on the Beeline committee with DPW for a number of years. It was just 3 or 4 of us, and I thought we did pretty well with that small group there. So I think all great intentions and so forth. I think I would put a lot of those folks that you have listed as part of the composition of the group. Maybe if you could limit it to somewhere between 5 and 7 voting members, and some of the other folks could be advisory or serve some other role for the committee for information purposes and staffing and so forth. But yeah, I think less is better if you really want some results. That's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Mr. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nick, we had talked earlier about this, so you know how I feel. I agree with the other 2 selectmen at this point. The committee is going to be a great committee, but right now, the way it looks right now is, Mr. Runyon said, right, the less is better. You get involved in conversations and they just don't seem to go anywhere. I think all 3 of us, or all 5 of us actually, have been on committees where they're so big, you really get nothing accomplished. Once you get a smaller committee involved, then you go ahead and you go out to the other ones, and that's when you ask them. But as far as voting members go, I'd go with 5, and then it come back to the Board of Selectmen at that point. So that's when I was chairman, I said, go ahead, run with this, and this is where we are now. So that's my personal opinion right now, Nick.
Thank you, Mr. Moretti.
Thank you.
Nick, real quick. Joe, you all done?
Yes.
Right. My thought, as far as staff, full-time staff, they should definitely play an advisory, a liaison capacity. I don't think they should be a voting member, a staff, an employee, basically. So you, again, to the 5 or 7 voting, and then the others can be staff, and definitely on the commit, well, meeting in the meetings, but not part of the voting group because they're staff. I just don't think staff should be voting. So I'm okay with 5 or 7. So that's my thought.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. I will, because we have the same basic conversation around the size for the DEI subcommittee, what I'll do is I'd like to entertain any conversations around the mission statement and the charge for either at this point. And then I can come back at our next meeting with the revised counts and the draft final versions of these plans for an actual approval. I won't ask for an approval tonight. I can revise the count and we can have that conversation at our next meeting.
Excellent. No, and again, Nick, great work in this. Thank you for your effort into this on both of them.
Thank you.
And Michael, thank you for your help on the transportation as well. Okay, anything else on this item? Okay, next item. Oh, sorry, Mr. Hogan.
Yeah, I just, for clarification, have we finished talking, or is Nick gonna come back?
No, Nick's
with
gonna come back
information so we can?
with a revision for both committees.
So basically, Bob, if there's any other conversation around mission statement or the charge that we want to have tonight, because or even leading up to the next meeting, because what I'll do is at the next meeting, I'll seek approval on both of these subcommittees with the final draft forms based off of a smaller committee and whatever's currently there.
All right, Mr. Chairman, may I follow up?
Yes, Mr.
So does it make sense for each of us to email Nick with the suggestion of which 5 we think? Maybe we're all thinking the same, but send it to Nick to see which ones have the somewhat consensus, and then just go from there.
Mr. Hogan, I think it's a great idea. So Nick, what we'll do is we'll all assess and evaluate the mission statement for each, the composition of each, send you our suggestions and thoughts, and that way you'll have everybody's suggestions and thoughts before the next meeting. That way you can bring it to the next meeting all cleaned up, I guess you could say.
Sounds good.
That
Thank
sound
you.
good with the members of the board?
Thank you, Nick.
All right, so we'll move that, we'll just continue that one. Both of those, both committees. We need to approve a change of select board schedule for 2000.
Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, sorry.
I saw Patricia O'Brien's hand go up. I didn't know if she had a.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't say it. Patricia, do you have something to say? To add?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I am a member of the Transportation Committee, and I enjoyed having conversations with so many stakeholders, and I would just encourage the subcommittee for Selectman Priest to consider a really very specific charge. I mean, the transportation issue is it's octopus in so many angles, and one of our recommendations was really for the town to really consider whether or not we need a lead person. And it might be worth the time of an ad hoc committee to think about whether a committee can actually do the work that's needed to be done, or whether it needs to be, something more substantive in terms of a position and a responsibility. Again, we're happy to share our information, but I would encourage a really very specific and highly focused charge and mission, or you're gonna run a lot of wheels. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Okay, is that it on this agenda item? Anything further? Okay, next one is to change the meeting date from July 19th to July 12th. Any discussion on that, or do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
It's like
Go ahead, Joe.
stereo. Joe, I'll give you the motion on this one, and Bob, you seconded it.
All right.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote to change July 19th to July 12th meeting date. Mr. Priest,
Yes.
Mr. Morandi,
Yes.
Mr. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
and the chair's a yes, 500 to move the meeting from 19th to the 12th of July. Okay, minutes, has everybody reviewed the minutes? If so, I'll take a motion to approve the June 8th minutes and the May 12th alcohol subcommittee.
A question, either
Yes.
John or Betty, for clarification. The alcohol subcommittee only had 2 members attending. How do we do that, John or Betty, as far as approving?
When you have your subcommittee meetings, Bob, all the board can approve them, because,
Okay.
you don't have a quorum, really, with just 2, so it's perfectly fine. And if one of your board members has an issue or a question about the minutes or a concern, then they could bring it up at that time.
And he's okay to approve the general session meetings and the May 12th alcohol subcommittee as one, or do we need 2 separate votes?
I would like to make an amendment to the May 12th, 2021, because there's a 1 missing. And that's it. I think you can take them both with that 1 amendment.
Okay, I'll be looking for a motion to approve both sets of minutes with the amendment suggested by Betty.
So moved.
By Mr. Morandi, seconded by Mr.
I'll
Runyon.
second.
Okay, roll call vote to accept the minutes. Ms. Morandi,
Yes.
Mr. Priest,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Runyon.
Yes.
Okay, and the chair's a yes. Very good. Okay, subcommittee reports. Joe, you have anything?
No, not tonight. Thank you.
All right, Nick? You good?
One thing, and then I'll leave it alone. It's been a long night. Just want to give you guys a quick update that I am meeting with the ISAC committee on June 7th to review and discuss the cybersecurity policy. And probably at the meeting after that, they may be on the agenda, but we'll see. They've done a lot of work on this new policy. And I'm looking forward to hearing everybody's thoughts and reactions to it.
Thank you, Nick. Bob?
A quick question I could, Nick, this is gonna be an absolutely stupid question, but have they run into a situation that there are things they can't talk to us about?
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah, that was just an inquiry that's not looking for any controversy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Bob. Mike, you have anything?
I do a couple of items quickly, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. First of all, I would like to extend my condolences to the family of Paul McLaughlin. Paul served the town of Burlington as a member of the fire department for over 30 years. His son, Michael, you may recall, we promoted to lieutenant recently. Paul was probably one of the nicest guys anybody ever could have worked with. Just a pleasure to be around every single day. So again, my condolences to the family of Paul McLaughlin. Second item is 4th of July. I've put a couple of press releases out there on social media and so forth. We will be having 4th of July event here in Burlington. Jim, I know you stated a couple of times we're getting back to normal, and this is going to be a part of it. I've been in touch with a number of people around town. I mean, the idea is pay tribute to the people who helped keep us safe during COVID. So I've reached out to the Leahy Hospital, good friends at Wegmans, police and fire chief, and others and so forth. So We will be honoring all those folks who helped keep us safe during COVID. And that will be on July 4th. It is a Sunday this year. It's going to be the traditional parade route that we usually do, Cambridge Street to Wynn Street. And it will step off at 11 o'clock. I'll have a lot more details to follow. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Michael. Just a thought off the top of my head. Maybe we can reach out to Melissa and get the list of the 125 new businesses and maybe introduce them to the 4th of July here in Berlin.
Jim, at this point, we obviously we're working on a shoestring budget. We did not go to town meeting this year for any funding. We've not solicited our corporate sponsors either. So I'm trying to be as clever as I can be. Again, reaching out to, like I say, people like Wegmans and I'm hoping to load it up with police and fire apparatus, ambulances, maybe we may even get a special visit from Boston Med Flight. There'll also be some traditional 4th of July stuff there. The Shriners will be there. I believe the Waltham American Legion with their trolley and so forth. I've got a few local groups. Linda McNamee from BCAT is going to be promoting her program. She's got some scouts as well. So we're going to have a little bit of everything there. First responders, essential workers, traditional 4th of July floats and so forth. So if there's anyone out there listening, has an idea, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Excellent. Great job, Michael. Anything else? Bob?
Yeah, on that same note, Memorial Day is coming up next Monday, May 31st, rain or shine. And this is a press release from the Office of Veteran Services here in town. The Memorial Day ceremony, hosted by the Allied Veterans Council, is going to be at Chestnut Hill Cemetery on Bedford Street at 10 a.m. Now, we're making special note here so that people understand this is still a little different, but it is going to be a live event down at Chestnut Hill. There will not be a parade into the cemetery. There'll be no flag raising on the common and no veterans breakfast social prior to the ceremony. So the ceremony is going to be the one ceremony down at Chestnut Hill Cemetery starting at 10 o'clock. So you just have to go there, and that's where everything is going to start and be from. And as a person who participated briefly in the placement of the flags the other day, and Michael was down there also giving his time. It was the first trip in a year and a half that I've made to the cemetery. And I got to tell you, if you haven't been down there, go down there. They've done a lot of work down there. And the veteran section has been opened up. A lot of the bushes and trees have come down, and it really looks quite nice. And but as always, the cemetery staff just works to make that a beautiful place and a respectful place. So again, Monday at 10 o'clock on Memorial Day. And one other thing, press release from the police department, Chief Michael Kent is pleased to announce that the Burlington Police Department will receive a $500,000 Cummings Foundation grant that will support the Burlington Mental Health Initiative for the next decade. The grant money will allow the department to hire a part-time problem-solving analyst who will gather, analyze, and share information regarding underserved populations facing mental health challenges. Continue to lease of its a virtual reality training simulator, which allows first responders to train collaboratively, focusing on de-escalation techniques and positive outcomes. And we also heard that it was used in the hiring process for the 4 police officers that we appointed tonight. And it will create a formal schedule for the Burlington Community Response Team, which consists of the Burlington Police and Fire Departments, town boards and other departments, and Leahy Hospital and Medical Center. The BCRT will identify mental health challenges in the community and use its expertise to address those challenges. So those are a couple of points. And off in the distance, just so you'll know, but we will have lots of information as we move closer. There will also be a 9/11 ceremony in September. and we'll give lots more information about what we're doing and what's going on there. But there will be a 9/11 ceremony on the Common. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Every day, a little bit more normalcy comes back into our lives. Okay, I just have one
And
quick.
it's my goal to make sure that makes you happy.
Absolutely. So one acknowledgement we received at the Town Hall, dear Burlington Select Board and Betty, on behalf of the Merrimack Valley Armenian National Committee, and as Burlington residents, we'd like to thank you for participating in our Armenian Genocide commemoration. We thank you for the proclamation you issued for the event, and it is truly appreciated. We plan to continue with this program next year and look forward to working with you then. And the only other update I have is our next meeting may be a live meeting. Still working out some logistics, but we may be going live pretty soon. So, anything else before we accept? Hold on, citizens' time. Do we have anybody here for citizens' time? Patricia.
Hi, thank you. It's actually not citizen time. I just wanted to circle back to the PFAS. How do you say it? PFAS. I want to thank John, Director Sanchez, for his leadership in our water treatment program. And I am thankful that we live in a country where we have the cleanest water in the world and the most regulated water in the world. And so I'm not an alarmist when it comes to the quality of our water, but I am sensitive to the categories of people who do have more significant concerns than I do. And I would ask the select board to try to engage our public health officials a little bit more to help John shoulder the burden of educating the public. I'd like to see our Board of Health support our community in that way, and so that our water treatment folks can focus on developing the filters, and that our Board of Health and public health officials can support our residents who have concerns. Because, you know, what I hear from John, this is a lifelong impact of what we describe as a drop in an ocean. And to save him time, I'd love to see us, our Board of Health, engage in that process, and whatever you guys can do to do that, that would be helpful. Thanks.
Thank you, Patricia. That's a great idea. I know the Board of Health has had their hands tied over the last 14 months. Hopefully, they can loosen them up a little. It seems like we're going in the right direction. So that's a very good suggestion. So thank you for that. Any other citizens' time? Star 3 on your phone to raise your hand. No, I see none. Okay.
Town
John,
Administrator.
Town Administrator's report.
Nothing to add.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, made by Joe, seconded by Hogan. Okay, roll call vote to adjourn. Mr. Morandi,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
Priest,
Yes.
Mr. Runyon.
Yes.
Chairman is a yes. Thank you all. It's been a long night, but thank you for